live on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Sir Keir Starmer privately vows to fight any attempt to remove him as Labour leader.
The Prime Minister's allies say he'll refuse to quit, even if MPs move against him over the budget or next year's local elections.
Well, Labour's been plunged into crisis as the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is forced to deny plotting a coup.
But could a Labour civil war derail the government's economic plans and shake confidence in the markets just weeks before the budget?
Donald Trump accuses the BBC of defrauding the public. Overnight, the president told Fox News the BBC had been dishonest and disgraceful, vowing to take legal action after what he called a deliberate attempt to mislead viewers.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it.
1 million more people are claiming benefits without having to look for work. A record 4 million now on universal credit, in a major setback to Sir Keir Starmer's pledge to get Britain back to work.
EasyJet's warning to the Chancellor. The airline says if Rachel Reeves raises tax on flights again in the budget, it could pull planes from the UK.
The countdown to Christmas is on, but this year's celebrations could look very different. More than 5 million Brits say they're going to host someone on weight loss medication this Christmas. So we're asking, is this the end of festive indulgence?
And in sport this morning, Mary Earps says it's written in the stars that she returns to Manchester United tonight, playing for Paris Saint-Germain. After her book was published, it may not be the welcome back she hoped for. Cristiano Ronaldo says next year's World Cup will be his last, considering he's 70. It's not a surprise. And football in Turkey looks very corrupt indeed.
Colder and drier weather is on the way eventually, but before that happens, we've got another few days of very wet and very mild weather, especially in the south. Full details coming up in the forecast very soon.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Now, how much do you love a pub quiz?
Oh, I do like a pub quiz.
I like a pub quiz.
I think with our jobs, we're actually very good at them as well, because our general knowledge is generally
quite good.
Quite good. Anyway, this is called the Pub Quiz Poirot, and it's on page 15 of the Daily Mail today. Basically, this pub noticed that there was this one team that was doing very well in the pub quiz. They were doing extremely well. They were getting everything right, everything correct, and they were winning the £30 prize every single week.
Every week, yeah.
So they decided to investigate. And it turns out this team were using their smartwatches to ask the questions, and then the Shazam app, which is like a sound recognition app that you can get on your phone, to find out the name of the song in the music round, and that's how they were winning. So
well, that's plain old cheating.
this pub landlord has said, yep, I had my suspicions, I watched them, I confirmed it, and then he went up to the team and said, I think you're cheating.
Banned?
You need to leave. Banned.
Good.
Can no longer... I don't know if they're banned from the pub or banned from the quiz, but they've been banned.
They should go to prison, quite frankly, in my opinion.
Money back.
Yeah.
And apparently loads of people now speculating online as to which team it was. Who done it, if you like.
It's just not done, is it? You don't go there, just do it. Even you don't even look at your phone. You don't. You should even, if you've got a text, you just don't do it.
Where's the fun in that?
Phones should be banned,
if you cheat.
There should be like a box at the front or something, and everyone puts their phones there.
Yes.
In this modern era.
I did. We were one of these music quiz when I was on holiday, and it was like I was thinking, yes, we're looking good, playing the 80s songs, and you've got to spot them. And I'm thinking, yeah, come on, this is going to be ours.
That's yours. Yeah,
then I was beaten, so we're beaten. I'm thinking, how on earth? Not that I was, been a bit cocky about it, but it was just this strange. I'm thinking, how? It turned out they did exactly the same quiz the week before. No. So the people that won it had done the same quiz the week before.
Well, that was silly, wasn't it?
You know what I was? I was aghast.
Aghast?
I was aghast.
Flabbergasted.
I was flabbergasted, yeah.
Say that.
I love it. There's always some rounds at the pub quiz I know nothing about, but then others I'm
Are those your pop culture rounds? You'd be like, what?
Pop culture, yeah.
Good.
Well, between us, we'll probably be OK. Well,
yeah, but between us,
we've got
we
a
make
quiz.
a good team.
Yeah, I think so.
You do the sports round.
Yeah, I'll do a bit of music as well.
Yeah.
You do news and business. Yeah.
News and business.
News and business.
Business.
You can do business and news.
History and geography are kind of my...
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
OK, fine.
I think between us would be OK.
Right, let's sort it out.
And anything on Taylor Swift, obviously.
Oh, yeah, obviously. That's the bonus round.
She comes up a lot, you know.
Can you imagine that? Bonus round Taylor Swift, and all of a sudden we're like...
Ta-da!
The £30 is ours.
Yes. I think we should put ourselves in for a pub quiz. Find one locally.
Very excited.
Tenner each should be great.
Very good.
Lovely. Should we go on to the news? Do some work?
Why not? Go on.
Our top story this morning, Number 10, has insisted that the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is going to fight off any attempt to remove him as leader.
Well, in a bid to shore up the PM's position, Downing Street warned that any plot against his leadership could risk unsettling the markets.
Well, allies of Sir Keir Starmer have accused cabinet ministers such as Wes Streeting and Shabana Mahmood of conspiring against him, reportedly making leadership moves behind the scenes.
Well, supporters of the Health and Home Secretaries, however, dismissed the claims as nonsense.
Well, it comes as Labour continue to spiral in the polls, now standing at just 18%. Bearing in mind they've only been in power, 17 months?
Yeah. Let's talk to broadcaster Duncan Barks. Morning, Duncan.
Morning.
I mean, the problem that the Prime Minister, that Number 10's got with this, is it doesn't matter who denies it.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't matter how true these particular claims are. The fact it's being talked about is a very bad sign.
Very much so, and Ellie, you hit the nail on the head. You know, less than 18 months in government, and we're seeing the Labour Party appearing to unravel. And as you rightly say, Stephen, you know, it doesn't matter who's saying this, everyone will deny it's the case. I'm cynical enough to have reached the conclusion at this stage in my life, talking and writing about politics, that every MP thinks they can do a far better job than the leader of their party.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be massively surprised about this, but this is the kind of headline that Keir Starmer doesn't want to see this morning, and it's blown up quite quickly. I went to bed last night being obviously, you know, very responsible, quite early. This wasn't around. Woke up this morning at about 3:10, and it was everywhere. So we have this story circulating. I mean, some of the, if you want to call them the runners and riders, are quite interesting here as people who, if there were to be a leadership contest, who might chuck their hat into the ring. I mean, we have the idea on the front page of the Times this morning that the current Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, would run. And it's like, why would you go back and do a job?
Well, he did such a good job last time.
Exactly. You also have Shabana Mahmood, who's the Home Secretary, and Lucy Powell, who's the new Deputy Labour leader. There's also a bit of narrative knocking around this morning that if there were to be a leadership contest, and of course everyone's saying no, everything's fine, but we know that there's a lot of concern with Labour backbench MPs, that the party is doing pretty poorly in the polls at the moment. Also, the budget on the 26th of November, that might be a trigger if the budget doesn't do what a lot of these Labour MPs want it to do, because they would find it hard to defend the income tax rise that's been floated, because it would break the manifesto pledge. If there were to be a leadership campaign or contest, it would be Angela Rayner who would be seen as the kingmaker, because she has, and GB News listeners and viewers will recall, she was up until recently Deputy Prime Minister, until she got confused about stamp duty, she has a lot of support on the left of the party, and while she probably wouldn't run herself, she could certainly influence a lot of people in how they might vote for a future leader.
Does this mean, then, that if there was a leadership contest, the party would almost inevitably shift more to the left?
I think so. I think so.
So the likes of Shabana Mahmood and Wes Streeting wouldn't even be in the running with them?
No, well, this is really interesting, because who would be the candidate on the left who might be able to get enough votes? And remember, it's not just MPs who would vote. You'd have to get the support of trade unions and constituency parties as well. One name that's been circulated is the former Transport Secretary, Lou Haig, who's a Sheffield MP. You may recall had to resign as Transport Secretary because she got confused over mobile phone ownership and that kind of stuff. So it's fascinating to see this on the front page of a number of our newspapers this morning. It should make Prime Minister's questions later on today incredibly interesting. And also Wes Streeting, who is the Health Secretary, is due to make an announcement this morning. It's been trailed widely about cuts to the NHS and getting rid of 18,000 admin jobs in the NHS as a bid to save money and to put that money into care, and it would fund more hip and knee operations or whatever. So Wes this morning, if he turns up for his various interviews, because he might think, actually, I don't need this kind of heat, will not be able to really get the airtime he wants to talk about his changes to the NHS, because rightly everyone will be going, oi, are you running for leader?
Well, you mentioned this extraordinary briefing overnight, and it was quick, wasn't it? So we had Number 10 come out. We've heard from Wes Streeting's team. We've heard from Shabana Mahmood's team as well. So why do you think Number 10 picked this moment to elevate the idea that Keir Starmer is under threat? Do you think it's because Wes Streeting is on the media round today? We've got PMQs.
Yeah, it's about controlling the narrative, isn't it?
And trying to nip it in the bud, I imagine.
Exactly that. You don't want to let this hare run. What you want to do, if I use some blunt language, is you want to shoot it dead so it doesn't really get the airtime. We're talking about it this morning. Downing Street will be thinking we must control the narrative on this. So you have this line that's been fed out by Downing Street saying, you know, if there is a leadership contest, we will fight it. Allies of Starmer are saying, you know, we will stand alongside him. And also you have this line this morning, which is, a leadership contest is the last thing this country needs because it was unsettled the markets. So they're going down that route of, like, we need stability. But you come back to this. I mean, in my knowledge, less than 18 months into government, you have this party that got in with a whacking majority of over 140 MPs, unravelling. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it is
It
extraordinary.
really is.
But it's because the bad news keeps on coming, doesn't it? I mean, we're expecting very bad news in the budget.
Yeah.
We're also hearing about air passenger duty, which may be going up, and EasyJet saying, well, maybe we'd have to pull out of the UK and relocate somewhere else.
I mean, that's interesting in itself because, air passenger duty, you know, it hits people who want to go on holiday, right?
Yeah.
You know, and also the knock-on effect of that economically would be people like EasyJet just going, do you know what, we're going to have to fire some people or whatever.
But which is why you've got to go counterintuitive on these things, isn't it? And say if you want to grow the economy, actually you've got to you've got to not overtax, you've got to not over-regulate these sort of things. But also on top of that, and this actually wouldn't help with that, is the unemployment figures are at the highest for a long time. Plus 4 million Brits now on universal credit.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's two things there. First off, we have an unemployment rate now of 5%, the highest in 5 years. And in the front page of this morning's Times is that universal credit claimants have jumped by 50%. So it's gone up by 1 million more people, and it's topped 4 million for the first time. So again, you have this narrative developing, which is we have a country which appears to be more welfare dependent. Now, ministers are saying this increase is about people being moved from older benefits as they're phased out. So that's what's going on. However, you can't ignore this figure. It's a vast amount of people who are getting universal credit, and they're saying, in this particular case, they don't have to look for work. So there's not if you know anything about the universal credit system, you're on the benefit system, you have to prove that you're looking for work. A big chunk of these people don't have to do that for whatever reason. It might be because they need a back operation or whatever, but it feeds into this sense that we have a big chunk of the UK population simply not working. So therefore, and I say this with respect because there'll be multiple reasons, they're not contributing into the system, which means all of us who are working are carrying a greater burden.
Well, actually, it's the thing, you're quite right to be careful about it, because you do end up thinking everyone who's claiming this shouldn't be. Actually, there should be people on universal credit, and they're unable to work, and they should be being supported by the state. Problem is, there are too many on there who actually aren't in that boat.
Yeah, and I was talking to someone yesterday whose best friend is a GP, and she was of the view, and she said sometimes the GPs just don't want the conversation. If someone comes into the surgery and just goes, I can't work, they haven't got the time to explore it properly. They just hand a note over. Now, I don't know if that's representative of across the country, but I thought it was a very interesting bit of insight that some GPs just feel like they can't be bothered to have the conversation because they don't have the time, or they don't want the hassle. Because if you have someone going, actually, I can't work, and the GP's going, well, I think you can, in our litigious world, for example, you open up a can of worms.
Yeah, you certainly do. And this is the government that promised to get Britain back to work.
Indeed. It's going remarkably well, isn't it?
Isn't it? Very well indeed.
Very well. Full marks.
We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Now, overnight, President Trump has said he has an obligation to sue the BBC for misrepresenting his comments ahead of the January 6, 2021 attacks on the US Capitol building in an interview with Fox News. This is what he had to say.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it, and their top echelon.
Director General and the CEO
This
both
is
resigned.
within one of our great allies, you know.
Well, it comes after the outgoing BBC Director General, Tim Davie, told staff at the BBC yesterday that they must stand up for its journalism, just a day after President Trump threatened to sue the BBC for $1 billion.
Well, the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, called for the corporation to uphold the highest standards, but she warned against sustained attacks on the BBC.
Well, we're joined now by US political correspondent Eric Ham. Very good morning to you, Eric. What did you make of that sit-down interview with Fox? Because this is the first time that President Trump has spoken about this publicly. I think a lot of people in Britain were hoping that this would just be a threat, that this would just be hot air, but it does sound as though he's serious about this.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, all you have to do is look at his track record. The president has gone after some of the biggest media corporations in the United States, and now he looks to be adding even another bigger global brand to that list. Already he has received multi-million-dollar settlements from both ABC and CBS, and we know that there's an ongoing suit with the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, and now BBC is in the crosshairs. And actually, the president in this instance is right. The splicing of that video by the BBC can certainly, I think, be an area where the president accuses the BBC of defrauding the public, given how close that video was done and edited in the lead up to the presidential election of last year. And now I think it poses much larger, very troubling questions for the BBC in terms of its ethical standards and, of course, its journalism standards in terms of what took place. And those are questions that right now the BBC has to answer. But of course, while also facing off against Donald Trump, who right now I think is looking like he may be moving closer and closer to this actual lawsuit against them.
Well, it's a slam dunk case for him, isn't it? As you say, I mean, it's perfectly obvious what has happened. You only have to look at the original footage and the edited footage, and it's absolutely clear what was done.
Well, again, these are questions that the BBC are now forced to answer, and I'm pretty sure this puts them in a much greater spotlight than where they want to be. Look, the job of any news organization is to be providing information that enlightens your audience. And if you're in a position where you have to defend very troubling questions like that, I think this makes it just an uncomfortable move for them. And given the fact that we know the president's history of how he views news media and particularly their portrayal of him, I think this is something where there needed to be an even greater caution on erring on the side of being much more transparent than what we're seeing play out right now.
I guess the difference between the lawsuits, I mean, you mentioned ABC and CBS there, but with the BBC, of course, it's funded by the licence fee payer. It's funded by the British people that have to pay £180 or so a year to fund the BBC. So, in essence, it would be the British people that would be paying up here. Do you think that would make President Trump change his mind, perhaps settle for a compensation instead or an apology?
Absolutely not. We know already it's been reported this president has made nearly $1 billion since being in office less than a year. And of course, we know that is what motivates Donald Trump. And I suspect that Donald Trump doesn't care where the money comes from as long as it's going directly into his pocket.
Yeah, I mean, so the difference with this is there will be a very real possibility it would cripple the BBC. It would destroy the BBC.
That may be true, but again, I don't think that's something that the president is necessarily going to be concerned about. Is this going to, I mean, he talks about this as being an ally of the United States, and he sees this as something that was derogatory towards him. And so I think the question that you're asking is he going to have some sympathy because this is a public entity? Donald Trump just doesn't seem to, I think, necessarily have much thought about that in terms of, if that was the case, he would not be actually moving forward or actually heading down this road where I think he's going right now with this potential lawsuit.
Okay. Eric Ham, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a difficult one. For all those who are critical of Donald Trump, and there are a lot of people, the problem is by their actions, they have proved him right.
Yes, that's exactly what's happened.
They've absolutely shot themselves in the foot. And that's, you know, if there's a price to pay for that, would it, I mean, £1 billion, would that completely cripple the BBC?
I think their assets had a viewer get in touch yesterday saying their assets were about £2 billion. The BBC's assets are about £2 billion, so it would be half of what they own.
Right.
But that would include buildings and all the rest.
So what would it do in terms of staff being laid off? They can't shove it all on us.
No. Well, people wouldn't pay it, would they?
No. So would it literally end the BBC, or force it to be, to be financed another way, force a major shake-up of it? Maybe that's necessary.
The BBC's got until 10 p.m. our time on Friday to respond, and we're told they have to retract the documentary. They need to apologise. I think there was a third element as well.
Yeah, and then come up with a settlement offer.
And a settlement compensation, that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, if they did that, and it would cost them, I should imagine, several $100 million, but maybe that's what they're just going to have to do.
And settle outside of, perhaps that's the way forward. But then you had Tim Davie come out yesterday just saying, nothing to see here. Love the journalism that's taking place in this building, and we're doing a fantastic job.
Yes,
which just felt a bit.
I thought that was a bit odd. And in that interview with Deborah Turness, who was the CEO of BBC News, again, not really addressing the issue.
No, massive elephant in the room that just wasn't mentioned.
Which is why, if someone's made this mistake, why was it pushed under the carpet? Why was it not dealt with? So I think it's very odd that we haven't actually had any actual sort of apology. We've had an admission, but no real apology from anyone whose head has rolled in this one.
Well, time is ticking, so we'll find out 10 p.m. Friday evening what the BBC decides to do.
Yeah.
Now, at 21 minutes past 6, to commemorate Armistice Day yesterday, we heard from an extraordinary woman, Grace Taylor, who lied about her age in order to join the Territorial Service, aged just 16, and became a gunner girl, defending Britain from German attacks.
Well, now aged 101, she spoke to GB News regular and historian Dr. Tessa Dunlop to reflect on her service, her survival, and her memories of World War II.
I've come down to Poole in Dorset for this very special 80th armistice anniversary of the end of World War II, because today this is the home of Grace Taylor, one of the final few surviving gunner girls who night after night served to keep our skies safe from the German Luftwaffe.
There were posters all over the place telling you we need more people in the forces, and I thought, why don't I join up? So I went down to Southend and I signed up, and then I was waiting for the letter from them to tell them when to go. The letter came, they told me to report to Glencarver Barracks at Leicester.
It must have been a bit like escaping this lonely job.
Yeah.
And had you
It was exciting, really, because, you know, you don't know what you're going to come up against when you get there. And from then on, of course, you're doing your training, you're being dished out with your uniforms and taught how to salute and how to march.
But you're only 16, so I don't understand. You have to be 17 and a half.
That's right. Well, by this time, I was 16 and a half.
OK.
And I put my age on.
So you lied?
I did.
You're 101 years old. You were one of the first women on an operational gun site. And I would like your opinion on what it means to be British after all this time.
I get the impression, by just watching the telly and listening to the radio, that we are envied by a lot of countries.
Are you still proud to be British, Grace?
Oh, of course. Oh, yes. I wouldn't want to be anything else, no.
Incredible woman, actually. And it's that I'm always a bit wary of saying that generation, because actually we've got an incredible generation of people, even now, who are serving, though not under the same circumstances. But people like that, and especially because they've survived and they've reached a grand old age, and they're still incredible people.
And just so incredibly brave and courageous, aren't they? I mean, someone like Grace, and you hear it so often, don't you, people lying about their age, who just want to step up for their country in a time of need.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are many people that would do it in this generation.
I don't know.
I think in our armed forces they would, but I mean, just normal, everyday people.
I think there are people out there who would still do it, and I think you have to salute everyone who serves at the moment. So I think it's a bit unfair to say, no, it wouldn't happen now. I think it will probably happen more than we think it would.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as it did in the past. But, you know, let's not write everybody off. I know we joke a bit about Gen Zs and all the rest of it. But, actually, there are still people who, when push comes to shove, will protect our country.
It's a very positive outlook. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say.
Right, at 6:24, it's time for the Daily Reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm a vicar in the Church of England in the Diocese of York. If you've watched any of the many period dramas put out over the last few years, there'll be a few things you've noticed. The great costumes, the improbable accents, and the clear distinction between those important people upstairs and the lesser people, the servants downstairs. These days, our relationship between those we serve and those people who serve us is less clear-cut. But instinctively, we all know where we want to be. We want to be the upstairs people. We don't want to be those downstairs. We want to be the ones who are served. And yet, our heroes, especially the ones we commemorate and remember at this time of year, are the ones who do the opposite. Think of the lady who gives up her freedoms to ensure the freedom of others. The soldier who lays down his life in service to save his friends. This is the model Jesus teaches. He says this about himself: just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Maybe this is why people see such virtue in service, especially service that leads to the ultimate sacrifice. For me, that supreme example helps me as I seek to serve others.
Now at 26 minutes past 6, let's get a check on the weather with Aidan.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more rain for many of us during the rest of today, particularly towards the south and southwest. Some drier spells, particularly towards the north. It's very mild once more. It's certainly a mild start to the day for southern parts. We've got this strong southerly wind pushing spells of rain north across England and Wales. After the heavy rain in the south first thing, it does brighten up through to the southeast. It stays very mild, whilst the heaviest rain pushes through Wales into the Midlands and the east of England. Further north, a little colder for northern Scotland, along with some outbreaks of rain or showers. A cold northerly wind here, contrasting with the southerly wind further south, and that southerly wind stays with us overnight, so it's another very mild night for many, temperatures staying in the mid-teens. It's a damp night for southwest England in two parts of Wales, and those spells of rain are moving north across northern England and to eventually Northern Ireland. But much of Scotland, a drier end to the day, some clear spells here and there. Further showers coming in on that northerly across northern Scotland. And those northerly winds will bring increasingly chilly air southwards across Scotland through Wednesday night into Thursday. That's the first place where we're going to see a significant drop in temperatures. The rest of the UK basically waits through to the weekend and early next week. We keep the mild air, in other words, across England, Wales, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland first thing Thursday. Initially, it's relatively dry and there'll even be some sunshine first thing. One area of rain fizzling away and moving southeastwards. The next rain is on its way, but for much of the southern half of the UK, at least, there's a drier few hours with some sunshine during Thursday. Damp for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England. Chilly in the north of Scotland. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Still to come, football legend Cristiano Ronaldo confirms next summer's World Cup will be his last. We'll get more from Paul Coyte in a moment.
Bowl.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline
Ellie? Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Paul Coyte's here with us. Morning.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We
We're
are
all
well.
right.
How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. Well, that's the niceties over and done with.
How's Mary Earps?
Oh.
Is this
That's
going to
what I
be
wanna
trouble
know.
tonight?
I quite like her.
Well, have you read the book yet? Maybe you won't.
I
She
haven't read
slags
the
you off. She has a go at you. I'm the only person she's nice to in this book. Right, Mary Earps then. So... Little backstory, of course, we know Mary Earps, former England goalkeeper. You know, she won Sports Personality of the Year. There she is with the trophy.
Quite nice.
And, you know, and the thing is, she was great at the World Cup. No, she was great at the Euros, and then we get to the World Cup. And, no, I've done it the wrong way round.
What?
I've done it the wrong way round.
Yeah, it was World Cup.
Yeah, it's World Cup, and that's what she was in. And then she wasn't chosen for the Euros, which, of course, England won earlier on in the year. Now, she played for Manchester United, and then she's gone to Paris Saint-Germain. Ellie, that's what's happened there. Now, she's recently released a book, which came out 6 days ago. Now, the book, often when people write their autobiography, you want a few interesting stories, a little bit of mud flinging here and there, because it's going to sell the book.
Just a little bit.
But the thing is, it really seems to have backfired on her, because her reputation, it's really not done her reputation any good at all. Now, she retired from the stories. Do you remember she retired from football just before the Euros because it seemed that she wasn't going to be the first-choice goalkeeper, that Hannah Hampton was going to be given the job. So instead of sticking around, and we thought, oh, it'd be good if she's still within the squad because of her experience, she walked away. And she sort of makes up excuses, said, well, I'll leave it to the other guy. But really, you think, sour grapes? Interestingly. Now, in the book, she refers to Hannah Hampton as my competitor. She doesn't use her name throughout it. She then says about the problems with Serena Wiegmann, saying the whole way it was handled was bad. BS was the words that she used.
Right.
And it goes on.
She's not happy, is she?
And on and on. And it seems now that what she's doing, she's now doing all these different interviews because she's saying, well, it's a lot of the book, you know, it was misrepresented. I'm thinking, well, it's your book. You wrote it. So the game is tonight. So Manchester United against PSG. She plays for PSG now in Paris, and she's playing Manchester United, which is her old team. And it's so interesting to see how the crowds react. Because the thing is, it just seems foolish that your reputation is terrific. Everybody looks at you as a great goalkeeper and as an England star, Sports Personality of the Year. Why do the book? Yeah. Because you're not doing yourself any favours.
No.
Sometimes
they're tempted by the chequebook, aren't they?
You know what, Stephen? I think that's what it is, because the thing is, I'm sure it's going to sell more than if there weren't those stories, but the reputation-wise, it's not doing her the world of good.
No.
Should we very quickly look at Ronaldo?
Yes. So Cristiano Ronaldo's been around for a long time.
Ever.
He's been playing since the 1950s now. And he is in Saudi Arabia, still raking it in. The World Cup is coming up this year, playing for Portugal, and obviously he'd love to win the World Cup. I doubt it's going to happen. But he was interviewed yesterday about how long he thinks he's going to continue playing, and it was... Anyway, let's have a look and see what Cristiano Ronaldo says, shall we? If I could say his name.
Let's be honest. What I mean soon is probably 1-2 years, I'm still be at the game.
So you expect this World Cup to be your last, do you?
Definitely yes, because I will be 41 years old. I give everything for football. I'm in the game for the last 25 years. I did everything. I have many records in the different scenarios in the clubs and also in the national teams. I'm really proud.
Yeah, where was he sitting there? Was that his front room, do you think?
I don't know.
Looked like
settee.
it, didn't it?
It was like a waiting room.
Horrible settee.
I know, it really isn't very nice.
Yeah.
See, money doesn't buy taste, you know,
doesn't
Stephen.
buy
That's what
taste,
happens,
no.
you see. So anyway, that's what he's saying. So he's 41 this year. And last World Cup's going to be another 4 years. He's not going to play in the World Cup at 45, is he?
No.
You wouldn't think so.
Mind you, isn't he currently the best paid player in the world?
Absolutely correct. Yes, he is.
He's raking it in.
Because he's playing in Saudi Arabia.
But so
millions and millions and billions. He's the first football billionaire.
So he's leaving at the top. He's still leaving at the. He might not be the best that he's ever been, but he's still leaving at the top of the game. Really.
But that's the thing. Do you think when you play, do you play then purely for the love because it's all you know? Because you're not playing for the money anymore. You know, he's so rich. So maybe that's why he doesn't want to retire. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have retired after, like, probably 1 year on that sort of money, and then that would have done me quite nicely.
Yeah.
Which is still what I intend to do if I start a football career.
I'm intrigued. Who is Toto Wolff? Because I've never heard of him.
Toto Wolff is the principal of Mercedes F1. If we're talking about money, he's going to sell some of his share. He owns a third of the Mercedes team that he runs. And the Mercedes team is actually valued at £4.6 billion. Wow. Oh, 4.6 billion. So he's going to sell, I believe, 5% stake. It's just the money around. It's unbelievable. So really, they're second in the Constructors' Championship. You know, he's very well known in F1, but if he's going to sell some of his stake, I think he still intends to be running it, but 4.6 billion it's worth, and he owns a third of that. Time to walk away?
Well, it's time to walk away by 5% of it. A few £100 million in your pocket.
Unbelievable.
Wouldn't be too bad, would
You
it?
got time for the penalty?
Shabby.
The penalty? OK, I'll save that. And also we have Sam Gilly, boxer, who's fighting on the Eubank Ben Bill on Saturday. Will be with us at 8:30.
OK, fab.
Lovely.
Thanks
Paul.
Twitchy.
Now, if you're travelling to work or school this morning, here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Drivers in Stirling should exercise caution as surface water is affecting driving conditions and safety. On the M48, a 7.5-tonne weight restriction for heavy goods vehicles is effective from May 27, 2025, until further notice. Cambridgeshire's A1 northbound between the junctions with the A428 and the A14 is closed due to a vehicle fire. Normal traffic conditions are expected to resume between 8 and 8:15 this morning. And on the trains, there are disruptions on the Gatwick Express between Brighton and Three Bridges, and on Great Western Railway services between Reading and London Paddington. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Now, do stay with us still to come. I'm very intrigued by this. Photos of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle at Kris Jenner's 70th birthday bash have now vanished from Kim Kardashian's Instagram. So why did they delete them?
I don't know. We'll have more on that and other stories in the papers with Claire Muldoon and Lewis Oakley coming up in a moment.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, 6:42, time to see what's in the papers with the journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldoon and the podcaster Lewis Oakley. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Claire, let's start with the Telegraph, should we?
Yeah.
The BBC is blaming enemies. Enemies, the bias scandal.
I love it. I love it. Well, there's a lot of that coming out, isn't there? So maybe it was an enemy. Anyway, I think that Tim Davie now, he's resigned. Turness has resigned. And it's all on the back of Prescott's emails and the Panorama debacle that we discussed last week as well. I think Tim Davie's in a very difficult position. OK, he has left as Director General. He was responsible for the output, ultimately, of the BBC. And he's taken this decision to remove himself from it. And I think now Lisa Nandy is coming in to support what he's saying. And the big discussion that we have to have is what is going to happen to the business model of the BBC? How will it be funded? Who will be next to take the reins of it?
Well, they're looking at that because the charter's up in 27, isn't it? So it needs to be renewed for another 10 years if it's going to be renewed.
It's bad timing, though, isn't it?
Oh, very bad timing.
Every 10 years. And I think
there's no point deciding that until we figure out whether they owe Trump £1 billion. Like, why bother looking at your business model where you don't know how much money you're going to have?
I think we should focus, though, on the positives of the BBC and what it actually gives us, OK? It's less money per year than a subscription to Netflix or Sky or other TV providers. But also, when there's breaking news, they have got journalists in every single corner of the globe. It's the only news output that has that. We know, sitting here in our job...
They have, but it's got to be an output that you
trust. This is what I'm moving on to now. So the Overton window is what we discuss in terms of politics and how that changes. In my view, it is completely blown open at the moment in terms of where people get their news outputs from. YouTube, OK? GB News, Talk TV, ITV, Channel 4, BBC. Where do people go for their views? And I think there's a lack of practical criticism as well in Holmes because people are getting it either from one source instead of, when I was growing up and when I brought my children up, we had the panacea and the massive big range of papers so they could inform their view. I didn't teach them how to think. I taught them how to get the facts out and make their views known.
I think it's telling that the BBC doesn't seem to have many friends. I mean, I know you've just obviously said they've got good journalists, which they have, but him coming out saying, you know, we're the very best of society, you don't really say that about yourself. You need other people that can say, look, They've had a wobble, they've had a problem, but, you know, it's a really good institution. I think that there are enough people
it's arrogance.
Want to back them.
There's no admission that they have lied.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, that edit and the fact that it happened and they've known it's happened and they've said nothing it breaks every rule of journalism.
It does.
I wrote at the top, no accountability. And I think that's the thing, they're not taking any accountability. And blaming the enemies of the BBC like they were in the editing booth. I mean, you have to take responsibility
I think the discussion has to be made, and I think it's arrogance as well at the part of the BBC, and it's been going on for a long time. They have become the liberal elite that we're trying to, you know, break down.
But I think this is good, ultimately, right? Because they're having a big slap to the face, maybe £1 billion to pay. They will be careful from now on. So maybe the result of this will
if
be
they
good.
take it as an opportunity, that is. All right, Lewis, Claire, we're going to leave it there for just a moment. We're going to have a look at the European weather and then we'll be back with more papers.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The low pressure responsible for the UK's wet weather is also bringing wet, windy weather to Iberia. Heavy showers in Cyprus caused by another low, but in between, high pressure, a lot of fine weather for Italy. Madeira and the Canary Islands seeing some lively showers and thunderstorms on Thursday. Here's this band of rain, which is really quite slow moving across Portugal and western parts of Spain. Eventually edges its way eastwards during the next few days, but Italy stays very nice indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
We do have problems in the UK at the moment, but I will say I don't think it's all doom and gloom. We have great safety nets here, strict protections to protect and help children. We have free education ranking 4th in the world for universities as well. Free NHS, dodgy as it may be sometimes. And we also have a lot of culture, history and green spaces, which I think is really important. 74% of children said that they can walk to a park or green space near them. So I don't think it's all that bad, but I do think we have lost our sense of community, and that's something that we need to work on.
Why do you think it is that so many fewer people are having children now? I mean, the birthing, the sort of fertility crisis that this country has entered into, to be fair, matching basically all of the developed world, fewer and fewer people are having children.
I don't think it's just about the money. I think there's actually a huge social media rise of child-free influencers. I don't know if you've seen any of these, but they're just very anti-children.
They call them dinks. Have you heard of dinks? Double income, no kids.
Oh, yeah. It's very interesting. And I think it's, you know, we look at somewhere like Somalia, where they have around average 5 children per family. They have virtually no benefit system, no pension system. Their children are their pension. And so I think in the UK, maybe we have too many options. People, I'm not saying it's all avocado on toast, but I think people are just really not seeing it as a popular option.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going through the papers in the company of Claire Muldoon and Lewis Oakley. Lewis, we had an extraordinary night of briefing, didn't we? With Starmer vowing to defend his leadership.
Yes, so he's saying he will not resign over any leadership challenge from Labour MPs, telling ministers any attempted coup would destabilise the country, because of course he's thinking about the country, not himself. I mean, I think it was interesting. I mean, this was briefed out late last night. And it feels to me like, after 18 months, it feels like it's almost all ending in tears anyway. This is what happens when you have an artificial supermajority, I would say. But it's no wonder that his own MPs are looking at him and thinking this needs to stop. You know, the 91 prisoners released, the small boats, digital ID. An interesting thing about this is the timing, obviously, because if you were planning to try and get rid of Keir Starmer and become the leader yourself, you would wait until the May elections, because you don't become Prime Minister now and then have to face the defeat that's going to happen at the May elections. So this is why people are saying, well, it's coming from Starmer himself. He wants to have it all out. Everyone knew that Wes Streeting was going to be on the media rounds this morning, so get him last night, catch him by surprise, then force him to go on national TV where everyone's asking him about it, where he's going to have to say, no, I fully support the Prime Minister, and that'll be the end of that.
What do you reckon, Claire?
I reckon Starmer, his time is up. He will not go now, but he's definitely on the way out. Rachel Reeves, Rachel from Accounts, good old Rachel, she is a scapegoat. I think this budget that she will release on the 26th of November, I think, will be disastrous both for King and Country and for all of our viewers and listeners, and for us. I think it's another nail in the coffin for Labour. The unemployment rate is out today, 5%, an over-bulging public purse. Waspy women, Pat McFadden is saying that he's going back to look at the case for that after the 2024 Ombudsman ruled that they should get compensation, which isn't legally binding in itself. I think people are just so sick of it, and I ask every single person that voted for Labour, why did they do it? How do they feel now? And what do they think the answer is? Because it's not in Labour.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. It feels like they can't carry on like this, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah. Well,
so we're just going to have to wait and see, but it's a very odd situation.
It won't change anything, even if they do change leader. I think that's the thing. And I think that I don't know whether you could say that they're putting the country first, because everyone is out for themselves. Starmer wants to protect his job because he loves to do that jet setting around the world. I even think Wes Streeting, whilst I don't think he obviously didn't leak this story today, I think that he's probably thinking, well, I felt like the natural successor, but Shabana Mahmood actually is getting some good traction, so I better act fast.
Yeah. Oh, well, we shall see. Let's just finish off with the mail, Claire, should we? And Instagram and the Jenners and Harry and Meghan.
My goodness me. Kris Jenner, who does not look a day over 30, celebrated her 70th birthday. She looks amazing.
She looks like her daughter.
So she had loads of people, the guest list was like red, like a royal red carpet. It was amazing. And they even had a couple of royals thrown in from Montecito, our lovely Harry and Meghan. But the photographs have now been taken down from the social media site Instagram, and I think it was Harry and Meghan that have pushed for those to be taken down, not Kris Jenner herself.
Yeah. Well, they took a load of flack, didn't they? Because you had the juxtaposition of the royals here looking at Remembrance Sunday, and they were there sort of partying. It felt in very bad taste.
Meghan wasn't wearing a poppy, was she? So she received a lot of slack in the papers for that on Monday mornings. Perhaps that's why they said, take those photos down.
Well,
who knows? A very weird thing to do, though, because we'd already seen them.
All right, you two, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Let's have a look at the weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more rain for many of us during the rest of today, particularly towards the south and southwest. Some drier spells, particularly towards the north. It's very mild once more. It's certainly a mild start to the day for southern parts. We've got this strong southerly wind pushing spells of rain north across England and Wales. After the heavy rain in the south first thing, it does brighten up through to the southeast. It stays very mild, whilst the heaviest rain pushes through Wales into the Midlands and the east of England. Further north, a little colder for northern Scotland, along with with some outbreaks of rain or showers. A cold northerly wind here, contrasting with the southerly wind further south, and that southerly wind stays with us overnight, so it's another very mild night for many, temperatures staying in the mid-teens. It's a damp night for southwest England in 2 parts of Wales, and those spells of rain are moving north across northern England into eventually Northern Ireland. But much of Scotland, a drier end to the day, some clear spells here and there. Further showers coming in on that northerly across northern Scotland. And those northerly winds will bring increasingly chilly air southwards across Scotland through Wednesday night into Thursday. That's the first place where we're going to see a significant drop in temperatures. The rest of the UK basically waits through to the weekend and early next week. We keep the mild air, in other words, across England, Wales, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland first thing Thursday. Initially, it's relatively dry and there'll even be some sunshine first thing. One area of rain fizzling away and moving southeastwards. The next rain is on its way, but for much of the southern half of the UK, at least, there's a drier few hours with some sunshine during Thursday. Damp for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England. Chilly in the north of Scotland. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say. Because when you talk, we listen.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Heading north, the M80 at Junction 6 is currently restricted southbound due to debris. Please use caution when approaching the area. Meanwhile, in a difficult part for some, there's a situation on the A4042 in both directions from Abergavenny Hardwick roundabout to the A472 interchange, resulting in a road closure. Drivers should seek alternate routes to navigate past this obstruction for a smoother journey. And on the trains, expect delays on the cross-country route between Bristol Parkway and Gloucester, as well as disruptions on the Gatwick Express between Brighton and Three Bridges. Stay alert for further updates on these routes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning. Sir Keir Starmer privately vows to fight any attempt to remove him as Labour leader.
While the Prime Minister's allies say he'll refuse to quit, even if MPs move against him over the budget or next year's local elections.
Well, Labour has been plunged into crisis. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is forced to deny plotting a coup.
But could a Labour civil war derail the government's economic plans and shake confidence in the markets just weeks before the budget?
Also today, Donald Trump accuses the BBC of defrauding the public. Overnight, the president told Fox News the BBC had been dishonest and disgraceful.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it.
1 million more people are claiming benefits without having to look for work. A record 4 million people are now on universal credit in a major setback to Sir Keir Starmer's pledge to get Britain back to work.
EasyJet is warning the Chancellor. The airline says if Rachel Reeves raises flight taxes again in the budget, it could pull planes from the UK.
The countdown to Christmas is on, but this year's celebrations could look very different because more than 5 million Brits say they're going to host someone who's on weight loss medication for Christmas. So we're asking this morning, is this the end of festive indulgence?
Not as far as I'm concerned. In sport this morning, Mary Earps says it's written in the stars that she returned to Manchester United tonight playing for Paris Saint-Germain. But after a book was published, it may not be the welcome back that she was hoping for. Cristiano Ronaldo says next year's World Cup will be his last. And football in Turkey looks very corrupt indeed.
Colder and drier weather is on the way eventually, but before that happens, we've got another few days of very wet and very mild weather, especially in the south. Full details coming up in the forecast very soon.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, we're kicking off with politics this morning because we're joined by the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Daisy Cooper. Good morning to you. And there's lots to talk to you about this morning because, I don't know about you, but we all went to bed quite early and woke up to a whole host of headlines that we hadn't seen the night before. Is this government in absolute freefall now?
Well, look, I hope not, because we've got a budget in 2 weeks' time, and there'll be many people sitting at home very worried about what the budget's going to mean for them. Many small businesses and high street hospitality businesses very worried about what the budget is going to mean for them. I think if the government finally realises just how frustrated the public are that they haven't seen any change yet, that's a good thing. But I do worry that with just 2 weeks to go until the budget, this kind of talk can be very destabilising for the markets and for international investors as well.
Can I ask you about the situation at the BBC? What do you make of the situation that we are now in, where the President of the United States is suing our national broadcaster? The BBC has until Friday to respond. How would you advise that they do so?
Well, look, first of all, let me just say that I think some of the editorial decisions that have been made at the BBC over the last few months and years have been very sloppy. And when they realise that, the corrections or apologies have been incredibly slow. And so clearly there are improvements the BBC needs to make. But I want to make it really clear that I think that in an age of disinformation and misinformation, and where our news is so polarised, I think it's really important that we protect public broadcasters. And therefore, my party and we hold the BBC to account because we want it to succeed. We want it to be independent and we want to strengthen its independence. I don't agree with those who want to attack the BBC with a view to defunding it and then instead replacing it with a kind of Fox News style type of broadcaster. That's not something that I want to see here in the UK, and we Liberal Democrats will fight any attempts to do that.
But the problem you've got is this isn't just about, the panorama thing, right, is clear. I hate to use, I've said it before, I hate the term, but it is actually fake news. It broke every rule of journalism, what happened with that edit about Trump's speech. But they can deal with that one way or another. The problem is there is clearly a newsroom culture which has to be changed.
Yeah, and I would absolutely agree with you. Look, I think the fundamental principles that underpin public broadcasting are the right ones. I want there to be a trusted national broadcaster where we can all get at least some news from the same place. We saw how powerful that was during the pandemic, and I think there'll be future occasions where we need to have a public broadcaster. But you're absolutely right. The BBC has got to change the culture on the inside, and I think we MPs have also got to legislate to restore its independence. Don't forget that it was under Boris Johnson and the Conservatives that the independent appointments process was watered down. There were a number of political appointees that were made, and I think it's outrageous that there are political appointees that there could be from any political party. I want the BBC to be independent. I want that independence to be strengthened. I want the BBC to be more accountable to the British public. The BBC is our British broadcaster, and it should be working on behalf of the British people. But clearly there's room for improvement. I wouldn't deny that at all.
Well, on that point, do you support then Sir Robbie Gibb, the former Conservative communications chief, being removed from the board? Because surely, based on what you're saying, if you want the BBC to be totally impartial, having people of a left-leaning persuasion and then having people of a right-wing persuasion is exactly what you need on the board for balance.
Look, I think what's really important to remember is that Robbie Gibb, amongst others, were one of the political appointees from Boris Johnson's era, and I don't think it is right that we have people who are politically appointed to the BBC board. On top of that, I think since Robbie Gibb has been at the BBC, there are credible allegations that have been reported in national newspapers that he has tried to interfere in editorial pieces and articles, that he has criticised editorial decisions, that he has interfered in the appointment of journalists to particular roles on political grounds. That is not okay. We cannot have political interference in our national broadcaster, and that is why I think it's time for Robbie Gibb to go. I believe the Secretary of State has the power to do that, and once that is done, we then need to bolster the independence of the BBC so that people people with real expertise in journalism can uphold the independence of the BBC and protect its future.
Well, yeah, and look, that argument holds water if we weren't in a position where the BBC is clearly so left-leaning at the moment. Not all of its journalists, not all of its staff, obviously, but a lot of what is now making transmission, which is getting to output, has been questionable. So maybe he was right to make those demands and have those questions.
You know, there's been some really there's been some interesting surveys done over the last few years, and when people ask the British public whether they think the BBC is left-wing or right-wing, whether it has left-wing bias or right-wing bias, the British public is almost split 50-50. You might argue that there's left-wing bias at the BBC. I would argue that having Nigel Farage on Question Time almost every other week means that they have a particular right-wing bias. So we can argue that down the pub until the cows come home. But the reality is that we need there to be an independent board where people are appointed on merit who are determined to uphold the independence of the BBC, free from political interference. And I think now is the opportunity for Parliament to do that.
Pat McFadden, the Work and Pensions Secretary, has said the government is reviewing this decision to reject payouts to the WWII women. Do the WWII women deserve a payout?
Yes, I think they do. I really think they do. There was an Ombudsman's report. The Ombudsman set out a number of different options that the government could have taken forward. And I think we were all pretty shocked when the Labour government turned around and said they were going to give the WWII women absolutely nothing at all. What was pretty extraordinary about the statement yesterday, which was a very short statement, was that we discovered that through a court process, a particular document had suddenly been found which suggested that the government actually hadn't been, or previous governments hadn't been as clear as they might have been. So, I mean, this is something that the government should have been aware of much sooner, but now it has come to light. I think it's really important that the government does now think again about making sure that WWII women get the justice they deserve.
Can we talk about the budget? Because we're all waiting, and frankly, I think we can speak for the nation, so we're waiting with absolute dread as to what is going to happen in this budget. It's not going to be a happy day. No one expects it to be. The Lib Dems are urging the Chancellor to cut VAT by 5% for pubs, restaurants, entertainment and accommodation. I mean, that's it. Whereas, look, it's not a bad idea because, I mean, the idea, to boost the economy, to give more growth to these things, to have more cash in our pockets that we can then spend and get the economy going again. However, it seems to be the absolute antithesis of the way the Chancellor operates.
Well, look, we have the budget in 2 weeks' time. And I think everybody is deeply frustrated that all the Chancellor is doing is hinting that tax rises might go up. What we Liberal Democrats want to say is we are still in a cost of living crisis. We are in a cost of doing business crisis. We have got to get money back into people's pockets. We are announcing today that we would introduce a £12 billion emergency package that would get people's energy bills down, that would give a VAT cut to hospitality, and those two measures combined would put £270 back into people's pockets. The way that we would fund this is by raising a windfall tax on the big banks. If the government doesn't introduce this windfall tax, then taxpayers are going to pay out £50 billion of taxpayers' money to the big banks over the next 5 years. We think that is wrong. We want to tax those big banks with a time-limited windfall tax and use just less than half of it to have this emergency package that would put £270 back into people's pockets so they can afford their energy bills, stay warm this winter and have the occasional extra when they go out on the high street too.
OK, Daisy Cooper.
Sorry, just before you go, what would you do with the other half?
Well, it could be used for all manner of things. It could be used to get the deficit down. It could be used for any other pledges whatsoever. What we're saying is that what we definitely need is this emergency package to save our high streets, to get energy bills down, to put money back in people's pockets. The other half could be used to get the deficit down.
OK, Daisy Cooper, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Breakfast.
All right, let's talk to the broadcaster, Duncan Barks, who's here. I mean, it's fascinating. When the Lib Dems are coming up with a policy which which most of us would say, oh, yes, please.
Yeah. So the
it's
VAT
not going to happen, though, is it?
No, I don't think it is. And I think if you were to look at what happened in the last budget in October, which many commentators, rightly, and business leaders saw it as an anti-business budget because you had the increase in employers' national insurance contributions, you had the national living wage or the minimum wage going up as well. Away from the budget, you still have this bit of legislation going through Parliament called the Employer Rights Bill, which makes it harder to basically fire people. Harder to hire people in some cases. So you've got this whole this blob, if you like, that makes it harder to run a business. And you talk about hospitality, and you've got this call from the Lib Dems about cutting VAT in the hospitality sector. It would make a heck of a difference. I know people who run pubs, and literally they're saying, we're going to see what happens on the 26th of November.
They're on their knees.
They're on their knees, massively. You know, and I live on the south coast, so I come into GB News, I drive through some lovely villages in Surrey. Picturesque, you know, cricket pitch, church, pub. I've seen 2 pubs in the last 9 months close on my journey not to reopen. One has a blackboard outside just going, we can't afford to run this pub anymore. So that's the reality of it. And I don't think our Chancellor either understands or gets it, but the hospitality sector, with many other small businesses as well, are literally on their knees. But I don't think we're going to see Rachel Reeves on the 26th of November come along and just go, yeah, let's cut VAT in order to boost the hospitality sector or small business.
Can we talk about that night of extraordinary briefing last night that we all missed because we were asleep? But MPs reportedly moving against the Prime Minister. He's refusing to quit, but Wes Streeting and Shabana Mahmood, some of the names in the mix. When Stephen was asking about how this all looks and the government being in free fall, said, I hope not. I really hope not 2 weeks out from the budget. I mean, this would have huge consequences.
It would do. And, I mean, the line that's being bandied around this morning is that we need stability. You can't have Starmer being removed, or indeed the Chancellor, because it would upset the markets, and the markets want to see stability. And just a bit of background here for people who might have just switched on this morning. So this is Wes Streeting, who's currently the Health Secretary. He's also MP for Ilford North and got in on a wafer-thin majority last year, I think about 520 votes or something. And he's been bandied around as someone who apparently might make a pitch to replace Keir Starmer. Wes is denying that this morning, and I suspect we'll get more and more denials. But you only have to turn the clock back several weeks. If you recall, there was another potential leadership challenge from the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, bizarrely a couple of days before the Labour Party conference. And, I mean, it was just absurd. And you just look at this, you think, this party is so split. They might try and project this image of unity, but several weeks ago you had Andy Burnham, you know, basically saying, well, I mean, he denied it all, yet you don't... It was staggering to watch his denials, particularly when he was doing newspaper interview after newspaper interview saying, well, if I was running the Labour Party, this is what I'd be doing. That was only several weeks ago. Now we have this word that's knocking around Westminster, the West Streeting could be someone who issues a leadership challenge. And just for context and background, you need the nominations of 80 MPs in order for that to go anywhere. So there's a long way to go here, but we know that Keir Starmer does not have the authority right across his party, and there are people sniping for him.
No, I mean, and that's the reality of it, isn't it? That it almost doesn't matter quite whether West Streeting believes he can do it or not at this stage. The fact it's being talked about is the big problem here. But also, it's a very odd situation we find ourselves in, where people are saying this is really, really grim.
Yeah.
But it might be worse if he went.
Yeah, I mean, be careful what you wish for, right? You know, who could replace him? There is, you mentioned some of the names in the frame. Ed Miliband's been suggested by the front page of the Times. Why you would want to turn the clock back and go back to a previous Labour leader, dare I suggest, who failed, is beyond me. You've also got Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, the new Deputy Labour leader, Lucy Powell, even the Sheffield MP, who used to be the Transport Secretary, Louise Haigh, has been bandied around as someone on the left of the party who might mount some kind of bid. And this is problematic for Keir Starmer because he seems unable to unite his party. And there are backbench Labour MPs who are hacked off with the rhetoric that Labour are using regarding the small boats. They see it as too reform, if you like, and that upsets them. They're concerned about the budget, and if there is going to be an income tax raise, that breaks manifesto pledges. So you have all of these Labour MPs thinking, what am I going to say to my constituents if this happens? They're unsettled. And I don't know what he can do, Keir Starmer, to actually bring everyone back together. And that's before you get into the optics of this, which is you don't see him that often.
No.
You know?
He's jetting all around the world,
exactly.
isn't he?
And it's not a sign of leadership.
OK, Duncan Barks, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much.
Right, overnight, President Trump has said he has an obligation to sue the BBC for misrepresenting his comments ahead of the attacks on the US Capitol building in 2021. He was talking to Fox News.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it, and their top echelon.
Director General and the CEO
This is within one of our great allies, you know.
Well, it comes after the outgoing BBC Director General, Tim Davie, told staff that the BBC must stand up for its journalism. This is just a day after President Trump threatened to sue the BBC for $1 billion.
Well, the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, Lisa Nandy, called for the corporation to uphold the highest standards, but she warned against sustained attacks on the BBC.
And we're joined by former BBC journalist Shahab Mossavat. Very good to see you this morning, Shahab.
Good morning.
What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think it's the usual, isn't it? The BBC gets in trouble, and all the wagons are circled, and all the usual cliches come out. You know, the best of us, and upholding the finest standards. But I mean, the fact is, the BBC has been caught once again with its hand in the cookie jar. It's broken the rules, and instead of coming with contrition, instead of coming along and saying we did wrong, we are definitely going to learn from this. This will not be repeated. We just see the cycle going round and round again and again.
It's very I have to say, it is very surprising that we've not had any sort of form of apology, of contrition from Tim Davie or from Deborah Turness, the head of BBC News.
This is because there's a civil war going on, actually, inside the BBC between the board, who are appointees, and the executive board. These two are actually at loggerheads with each other. One is demanding that the apology is put forward so that the institution is protected. I'm a protector of the BBC. I'm an advocate for the BBC, but not this BBC, not the BBC of people who appoint themselves as the voice of the people, but the BBC that actually holds up those Reithian standards. I don't want to be sentimental about it, but, you know, when I joined the BBC back in, 2001, when they gave me my BBC card, it was a moment of great pleasure for me, a great pride. I went home, I showed it to my family, and I said, do you know what? I actually feel like a journalist for the first time. I feel quite ashamed of having worked towards the end of my career at the BBC, because there I was a senior duty editor, I was going to editorial meetings, and I was seeing the group think in action. I was seeing people that were seen as outside of the group think being shunned. So if someone came along and was unorthodox, a heterodox voice, like, say, Boris Johnson, then scorn was poured on him.
Yes, but that's not unique to the BBC.
No, it isn't unique.
I mean, we've all worked in places like that.
Well, we have, that's right, that's true.
What do you make of political appointees? We're just talking to Daisy Cooper from the Liberal Democrats about that, saying that that needs to be banned, because there are presenters at the BBC, a number of BBC staff yesterday in that talk with Tim Davie, there's an internal call with him, a number of them calling for Sir Robbie Gill to go from the board. Do you think he should be there, bearing in mind he was former comms director under Theresa May?
Absolutely, of course he should be there. He's a different voice. I think you yourself said that if you don't have voices that come from across the political spectrum, then you've got a very stilted view. The BBC, within the editorial setup, within the newsroom, is already quite a stilted place. It's very smug, it's very self-satisfied, it believes that it has the narrative, and it should actually be the story. Rather than reporting on the news, they want to make the news. They have very set views on various things. I was in the newsroom on the day the Brexit vote came in, and it was like a mausoleum. There was a pall of grief over the whole newsroom. I wasn't one of them. I'm a Brexiteer, and I was quite proud of it. But people looked at me with contempt.
Yeah. But how do you then, if you want to protect the BBC, how do you do that without, frankly, clearing out all these sort of middle-class, middle-level people who do uphold and increase that culture?
By going back to the basics, start from the bottom. The whole idea of a charter institutionalises this sense of impunity that the BBC and those that run the BBC feel. 2027 has got to be a watershed. We've got to say in 2027 that the BBC needs to be re-evaluated root and branch. That's not to say we chuck it in the bin, but if it's going to be a public service broadcaster, it has to put public and service first rather than self-service and private.
How should the BBC respond to President Trump by Friday? They've got until 10 p.m, so the clock is ticking. They
should do what ABC and CBS did. They should settle. Any lawyer at the BBC who's worth their money would tell the executive board that they should take the mea culpa, they should accept that they did wrong, and that they should apologise unreservedly and give an undertaking that they will not put together bits of an interview 40 minutes apart and then come out, instead of wearing a hair shirt, being arrogant and unapologetic.
OK. Shahab, really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure you'll let us know what you think about that one. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Now, just coming up to 23 minutes past 7, let's get a check on the weather with Aidan.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more rain for many of us during the rest of today, particularly towards the south and southwest. Some drier spells, particularly towards the north. It's very mild once more. It's certainly a mild start to the day for southern parts. We've got this strong southerly wind pushing spells of rain north across England and Wales. After the heavy rain in the south first thing, it does brighten up through to the southeast. It stays very mild, whilst the heaviest rain pushes through Wales into the Midlands and the east of England. Further north, a little colder for northern Scotland, along with some outbreaks of rain or showers. A cold northerly wind here, contrasting with the southerly wind further south, and that southerly wind stays with us overnight, so it's another very mild night for many, temperatures staying in the mid-teens. It's a damp night for southwest England in two parts of Wales, and those spells of rain are moving north across northern England into eventually Northern Ireland. But much of Scotland, a drier end to the day, some clear spells here and there. Further showers coming in on that northerly across northern Scotland. And those northerly winds will bring increasingly chilly air southwards across Scotland through Wednesday night into Thursday. That's the first place where we're going to see a significant drop in temperatures. The rest of the UK basically waits through to the weekend and early next week. We keep the mild air, in other words, across England, Wales, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland first thing Thursday. Initially, it's relatively dry and there'll even be some sunshine first thing. One area of rain fizzling away and moving southeastwards. The next rain is on its way, but for much of the southern half of the UK, at least, there's a drier few hours with some sunshine during Thursday. Damp for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England. Chilly in the north of Scotland. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, still to come for you, something else to look forward to in the budget. Looks like air passenger duty, that's the amount of tax we have to pay per flight, could be going up.
Again?
In the budget, yeah, again. We shall wait and see, but we're debating next, should we be paying more every time we fly?
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, could Britain's future in flying be at risk from changes in the budget, which is in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, now as the UK looks to the budget announcements next month, EasyJet have said they could be forced to make drastic changes if flight taxes are increased?
Well, the duty has already increased, or is due to rise, from £13 to £15 per passenger. That's for a short-haul economy flight, and that's happening in April of next year. But it could be increased again in Rachel Reeves's upcoming budget.
Yeah, and if long-haul flights, it's even more, it end up being more than £100. It comes as Ryanair has announced it will stop flying from several French regional airports due to French tax changes, which added an extra €4.77 per ticket on all flights.
So could the UK see the same if taxes on flights are increased? And EasyJet's actually said, haven't they, that they might need to pull
out
flights from the UK and be based somewhere else? Or is this a good way to fill the economic black hole? That's our debate this morning.
Yes, and we're going to talk through that with the Director of Future Cities Project, Austin Williams, and the climate journalist, Donica McCarthy. Good to see you both this morning. Austin, can we start with you? I mean, is this a sensible movement? It would generate more money. Would it really stop us going on flights?
Well, obviously, it'll generate more money in some respects, but presumably the calculation has to be done as to whether it will reduce the number of people flying in the first place. I mean, we've got a situation now where we've just got back to the same number of people flying roughly as pre-COVID. And I don't know about you, but COVID was a disastrous period in our history that we like to forget when we were all locked down. And so that idea that people are now actually beginning to explore the world, going to see family and friends and relatives abroad, is kind of an important aspect. So we're seeing much more from this government about mobility restrictive taxes, stopping us from travelling, whether that's by car or by I mean, train prices are ridiculous, extortionate, plus these new flight taxes. So everything is a hit on people's mobility. And I find that is a really retrogressive stealth tax, which I think we can all do without. I think the idea that, an extra £2 is neither here nor there to most people, as you said, the idea that if you want to visit your friends in Australia, it's going to be over £100. So, these things have direct consequences on people's decisions and how they're going to actually fly, how they're going to travel. And I think flying is a fantastic innovation. More people should do it. We should have more airports. And as part of Rachel Reeves's strategy of actually a growth plan where she wanted to expand airports, this is kind of a confusing opposite to what she was suggesting just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, but
Donica?
Yeah, I mean, I find it extraordinary that a senior lecturer could talk about promoting aviation in the middle of a climate crisis. We've just seen the extraordinary scenes for poor people in Jamaica, as we've witnessed record hurricanes, record rain, record droughts across the world, highest temperature ever. We've got to tackle our carbon emissions, and Heathrow Airport is the single largest source of carbon emissions in the United Kingdom. He talked about a flight to Australia. Well, we have to understand how much carbon that requires. It's around 4 tonnes per person. So a family of 4 to go to Australia would be 16 tonnes of carbon. That means nothing to most people. What does it mean? It's around 50 years of your household electricity pollution. You'd have to turn everything off in your house for 50 years. So first of all, there's the carbon pollution crisis involved. But secondly, there's the economic cost to Britain. You've just talked about the hammering of Britain's hospitality sector. And what we get always on these news stories is we hear the EasyJets, the billionaire flight companies, but we never hear from the British tourist industry. The British tourist industry loses £26 billion net every year because rich people fly abroad.
Yes,
so what would need to happen?
But Donica, Donica, the impact as well. There's an impact as well, isn't there, on people coming to this country if we have if we price people out the market.
So what kind of happen? Britain spend basically richer people spend £56 billion abroad on foreign tourist industry jobs, and they spend around £24 billion here. There's a net loss of £26 billion. And so what the British public supports, polling is that we should have a frequent flyer tax. The current APD penalises a single family going for a single holiday each year. And what we need to do is a frequent flyer tax, because most of the pollution in Britain comes from people who fly again and again and again. And what a frequent flyer does, it doesn't put any tax on the 72% of people who may fly once a year. But what it does do, it penalises the rich people who fly to their second home in California, etc. That would raise £7 billion. And what could we use with that £1 billion?
OK. All right, Donica, hold on a minute, because we've got to let Austin get another word in.
Austin, do you think that's a good idea?
Nonsensical. And I'm delighted to be a senior lecturer advocating more flying. I read an article by Donica just recently from 2020, which is the height of lockdown, as I recall, where he says that flying is the equivalent to fascism, or worse than fascism. So, the hyperbole is everywhere if we want to look for it. But I think that, if you're looking at people to travel around the world, people to travel more broadly, more widely, travel broadens the mind. That's why I'm in a university. So I think that actually the idea that these policies are now trying to kind of cut back on people's mobility is a disgrace. And the idea also of calling carbon a pollutant, we can mix these words up. Carbon is not a pollutant, right? Pollution as being a real problem. I agree with you, pollution is a problem. But carbon is just one of those kind of gases, which is a problem. The biggest climate change, global warming gas, of course, is water vapor, which we never talk about. But ultimately, we really need to get a handle on the idea that more people should be moving around the world. When I taught in China, which was a long time ago,
what about the price?
In the last 20 years, 150 airports have been built in China. Good for them. Good for them. And the fact that in Africa, 8, and in some parts of Africa, none have been built, that is a disgrace. And that level of discrepancy of development is really what we have to deal with.
All right, you two, we have got to leave it there because we are out of time. But we do appreciate the time of both of you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. As always, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now do stay with us. Still to come, footballing legend Cristiano Ronaldo confirms that next summer's World Cup will be his last. That's next.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M90 northbound is blocked between Junction 5 and Junction 4 due to a road traffic incident. Drivers should proceed with caution and expect significant delays. Additionally, there is a road closure on the A404-2 between Abergavenny Hardwick roundabout and the A472 interchange. Commuters are advised to plan an alternative route. In Hertfordshire, a broken-down vehicle on the M1 southbound exit slip at Junction 5 has led to one of 2 lanes being closed. Anticipate clearance later this morning. And on the trains, cross-country services between Bristol Parkway and Gloucester and Gatwick Express services between Brighton and Three Bridges are delayed. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very, very easy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
7:39 and Paul's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Should we talk a bit of
Earps? A little Earps talk?
Oh, yeah, go on.
Is that what you're doing? A little Earps talk? Is that what you're going to say?
I wasn't, no, but...
Oh, OK. Mary Earps. I just want to mention Mary Earps. Mary Earps is playing for Paris Saint-Germain against Manchester United tonight in the Champions League. Her book is out and seems to be causing a lot of problems through people that she's having a bit of a go at, and it doesn't seem to be going down too well. And...
It's taken out of context, Paul.
Oh, I love that. It's always, isn't it great when you go, yeah, it's completely taken out of context. It's your book. You wrote the book. What do you... Well, supposedly. Have you read the book, Mary?
She should have checked it.
Have you read it? Anyway, she retired from international football just before the Euros because she wasn't going to be the #1 goalkeeper. It seemed like sour grapes. Hannah Hampton, who's the rival she mentions in the book, although not really by name. Ooh. She called her my competitor, and she has a go about Serena Wiegmann, the way it was handled. There's other things as well. But anyway... She will be playing at Manchester United tonight, and I just wonder whether she'll get the reception that maybe she would have hoped. It seems like sometimes when people write books and you think it's out for Christmas and it'll sell very well, and it seems like it'll probably sell better than it might have done before, but it's not done her reputation the world of good, in my opinion.
Should we look at Alcaraz?
Yes, let's have a little look, shall we? Carlos Alcaraz, can we see him in action at the ATP finals in Turin? Came through a thriller against Taylor Fritz. So there we are. There's Carlos Alcaraz there in the yellow. What do we like the yellow and the short? How do you feel about the hair and the...
No.
Don't love either, the hair or the top.
Neither? OK, not working for you?
No.
Okay.
I like tennis whites.
Yeah.
Traditional.
See, that's your Wimbledon thing, but I kind of like the fact that it's reserved for Wimbledon now,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, but the bleached hair is not good.
Not really good for him. OK, well... Anyway, that was in Turin, and it's the ATP finals, and so there's all the best players. It's the best 8 will play against each other in a round robin, as we mentioned. But Alex de Minaur. Now, Alex de Minaur is the fiancé of Katie Boulter. And he lost. Now, I've got a little clip for you, which I'll play in just a second. He played Alcaraz and lost in the last game there at the ATP. And then he lost to Italian Lorenzo Musetti. Now, he won the first set 7-5. He lost the second, and then he was 5-3 up in the final set and ended up losing 7-5. Now, sometimes you see sports people when they're interviewed afterwards, they put a brave face on. But this shows how much this boy cares about his tennis. Have a look at this. This is the press conference afterwards.
I think it's probably a good thing I don't express my feelings right now because they're quite dark. Yeah, to be honest, it just feels like it's been that type of year where I've had what feels like a lot of matches that should have gone my way and just somehow don't. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, don't feel great.
Oh dear.
Can you imagine when they go, right, next question, you go, no, I'm good. I've got nothing to ask.
Oh.
He had a T-shirt with sound mind and sound body written on.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Dear, poor Alex.
Not good.
Dear me.
At least he's honest about it,
Well,
you know?
at least he's honest. Can we very quickly have a look at Benfica?
Yes, have a look at this. Now, Benfica played against Casapia. As a penalty against Benfica. I've never seen this before. Have a look at this. Look, so the penalty... Now, the penalty is saved by the Benfica goalkeeper, and then watch the defender then come out to nod it away, and he heads it straight back into the goal. I've never seen an own goal that's come back after a penalty. Nicola Araujo tried to clear the ball, put it in his own net. Oh, dear. Not to worry.
Oh, no, not to worry.
He's now doing a press conference going, I'm in a very dark place right now after this.
Who'll be
The
next?
penalty went in the back of the goal. I didn't mean it to go there.
Oh,
Hoity, thanks very much.
Right, thank you. See you, Boxer.
See you in a bit.
See you in the
Sam Gilly coming up now.
All right, still to come for you. We're going to be going through the papers very, very shortly with Claire and with Lewis. But first, if you want some holiday sun, here's the European forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
The low pressure responsible for the UK's wet weather is also bringing wet, windy weather to Iberia. Heavy showers in Cyprus caused by another low, but in between, high pressure, a lot of fine weather for Italy. Madeira and the Canary Islands seeing some lively showers and thunderstorms on Thursday. Here's this band of rain, which is really quite slow moving across Portugal and western parts of Spain. Eventually edges its way eastwards during the next few days, but Italy stays very nice indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
But I saw in that incredible ancient ceremony how it and our traditions held the country together. It wasn't just the proclamation at St James's Palace, it was the wave of them that then spread around the country. It involved all of us, it reminded us who we were, and it galvanised support for the new king. And I thought, this is just incredible. And then I started to think about, actually, all of these things have been arrived at, and our amazing uncodified constitution, which is written down, but in about 400 different places, it's all held together by these rituals and these ceremonies and customs. And even our law is devised that way. And actually, the conclusion I came to is that these things are really important. I think we don't really recognise, we like them, but we don't really recognise how fundamental they are to our reliability, our dependability as a nation, and our ability to cope with change. They celebrate service and duty. They celebrate sacrifice. They are based around, I would say, the values of the nation. And most of them, in fact, I think all of them, are funded not by the public sector. It's not local authority grants doing this, it's local traders. In terms of the local traditions and customs, the madder the better, as far as they're concerned. And I think this points to another element, that the absurd and our sense of humour. It's the only thing we take really seriously in this country. So I think that is fine. But I think we do adapt these traditions. They do modernise.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Breakfast. We're going through the papers in the company of Claire Muldoon and Lewis Oakley. Morning, you
Good morning.
two. Morning. Claire, can we start with you? And the front page of the Mail this morning, and unemployment figures are soaring.
Yeah, the highest since the COVID pandemic, actually, 5%. And a lot of these people that are unemployed actually claiming universal credit, and a high proportion of those claimants don't even need to look for jobs. They just get the payment rolling monthly on month. They don't need to check for jobs or anything. Now, whilst I completely acknowledge that there are people who are severely disabled, who cannot work for anything, and they need the support of the state, Absolutely not a problem. What I have a problem with is those that are trying to tick boxes in order to get council tax support, get their rent paid, and actually live off a salary from the state. That's the issue I have. The public purse is bulging far too much. Rachel Reeves is apparently taking VAT from schools, as we knew, from private school sectors. That money was supposed to be ring-fenced for the state sector. Ask Bridget Phillipson. She will not have an answer. That money has not gone back in to the state purse for state education. My worry is in this budget, if Rachel Reeves tries to increase income tax, where is that money going to go? I don't trust them to be able to fiscally manage the excess money they'll be getting from the public. And the other issue I have is the squeezed middle and fiscal drag of people being brought into those tax brackets. And you've still got 1,000 people losing their jobs per day because Rachel Reeves in her first budget put the employers' national insurance up, and therefore a lot of SMEs, small and medium enterprises, cannot afford to employ people.
There's a lot there. I mean, first of all, this 1,000 jobs a day, that should be the warning light, right? That should be the symbol to the chancellor. What you're doing is not working. Companies cannot afford to replace staff. They certainly cannot afford to...
It looks like no one's working.
Everyone is clinging on. On your point around the benefits and all these people in universal credit, I'm slightly more conflicted on that because we're talking about numbers when really we should be talking about principles. You talked about it a little bit there, but the number is, 4 million people now don't need to look for work. I mean, we're a country of 69 million. What number are we aiming for? If we're going to aim for a number, we should be aiming for a principle, which is if you really can't work, we've got you.
Well, yes, but clearly there aren't 4 million people who really can't work.
But how do we know?
Oh, come on.
69 million? I don't know. Does that number seem about right?
No,
I don't know.
Have we got 4 million people who are in such a condition, with such disabilities that they cannot work?
Well, this is what I'm saying. When we're just talking about numbers here, it's hard to think of the people there and what they might be dealing with. So I almost think we need to have a review of the system. Like, what is being signed off? If you're going to tell me, look, it's just doctors can't be bothered to deal with it, they just sign it off, then that is something that we can actually tangibly go after. But just kind of saying, well, we don't like that number of 4 million. Well, what number do you want? What number do we feel better with?
It's a percentage change, Lewis. That's the thing. And it's a very good gauge of the temperature in this country. And if we have 5 million people economically inactive, where do you think the brunt of that is going to be responsible? Where do you think the brunt of that's going to be shifted? To the middle classes. And I'm sorry, and even the class system's changed, which I'm not a great believer in class systems, but really, Starmer, for the people building the future, we are the government to build on things and make plans. They're not doing it.
Well, right, let's move on from that, should we? And cheer ourselves up with France.
Okay. Yes.
Because France is stopping fewer boats than it did before since the one-in, one-out deal was launched.
Yeah, so they're stopping just a quarter of the boats now. Around this time last year, it was 38%. So the issue here is that the French government have pledged to adopt new tactics where they're going to have more elite officers, it's going to be sharper, more professional, they're going to stop more migrants. But the tactics have been delayed because of officers' concerns they could put the lives of migrants at risk. That, to me, makes no sense because we know that people die crossing the channel. Like, surely that is the extreme thing where people could die. Trying to stop them getting in the water. I don't understand how you've balanced those two things.
No.
But I think the overarching thing here is there's just not the will to stop this. I don't think the French don't care.
Well, it's not their problem, is it? If they let the boats take off for Britain, that is less of a problem on their hands.
The French don't care. I think that the British government, doesn't seem to care. Even one in, one out. I mean, we've talked about this before. That doesn't change the overall numbers, which is the big issue. And I even think with, the British people, there's, they moan about it, but there's not a big feeling of if this were Extinction Rebellion and people were putting up a new coal-fired plant, there would be protests and stuff, but we don't see that. So maybe this is just, it irritates a lot of people, but people don't feel strongly enough to...
swell of anger in the country about this.
Well. All right, you two, thank you very much indeed. We shall see you both a little bit later on. Look forward to that.
Yep, let's get a check now on the weather, shall we, with Aidan McGibbon.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more rain for many of us during the rest of today, particularly towards the south and southwest. Some drier spells, particularly towards the north. It's very mild once more. It's certainly a mild start to the day for southern parts. We've got this strong southerly wind pushing spells of rain north across England and Wales. After the heavy rain in the south first thing, it does brighten up through to the southeast. It stays very mild, whilst the heaviest rain pushes through Wales into the Midlands and the east of England. Further north, a little colder for northern Scotland, along with some outbreaks of rain or showers. A cold northerly wind here, contrasting with the southerly wind further south, and that southerly wind stays with us overnight, so it's another very mild night for many, temperatures staying in the mid-teens. It's a damp night for southwest England in two parts of Wales, and those spells of rain are moving north across northern England and to eventually Northern Ireland. But much of Scotland, a drier end to the day, some clear spells here and there. Further showers coming in on that northerly across northern Scotland. And those northerly winds will bring increasingly chilly air southwards across Scotland through Wednesday night into Thursday. That's the first place where we're going to see a significant drop in temperatures. The rest of the UK basically waits through to the weekend and early next week. We keep the mild air, in other words, across England, Wales, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland first thing Thursday. Initially, it's relatively dry and there'll even be some sunshine first thing. One area of rain fizzling away and moving southeastwards. The next rain is on its way, but for much of the southern half of the UK, at least, there's a drier few hours with some sunshine during Thursday. Damp for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England. Chilly in the north of Scotland. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Today, high winds are closing the A92 Tay Road Bridge for double-decker vehicles with a speed limit of 30 miles per hour. The A4042 is shut in both directions from Abergavenny Hardwick roundabout to the A472 interchange. Expect congestion on the M60 anti-clockwise between junctions 11 and 10 in Salford due to an abandoned vehicle causing one-lane closure. On the M25 anti-clockwise, there's a collision at entry junction 19, resulting in lane closures. And on the trains, cross-country services face disruption between Bristol Parkway and Gloucester. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airwaves before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country. Good morning. Sir Keir Starmer privately vows to fight any attempt to remove him as Labour leader.
The Prime Minister's allies say he'll refuse to quit, even if MPs move against him over the budget or next year's local elections.
Well, Labour has been plunged into crisis. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is forced to deny plotting a coup.
But could a Labour civil war derail confidence in the markets just weeks before the budget? Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Daisy Cooper, seems to think so.
I do worry that with just 2 weeks to go until the budget, this kind of talk can be very destabilising for the markets and for international investors as well.
Yes, Wes Streeting is said to be plotting against Labour leader Keir Starmer, and the Prime Minister is going to put up a fight. Find out more with me very soon.
Donald Trump accuses the BBC of defrauding the public. Overnight, he spoke to Fox News and said the BBC had been dishonest and disgraceful, vowing to take legal action after what he called a deliberate attempt to mislead viewers.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it.
1 million more people are claiming benefits without having to look for work. A record 4 million now on universal credit. It's a major setback to the Prime Minister's pledge to get Britain back to work.
EasyJet has given a warning to the Chancellor. The airline says if Rachel Reeves raises flight duties again in the budget, they could pull their planes from the UK.
Now, the countdown to Christmas is on, but this year's celebrations could be a bit different because more than 5 million Brits are having to host someone on weight loss jabs this Christmas. So are we seeing an end to some of the indulgence?
In sport this morning, Mary Earps says it's written in the stars that she returns to Manchester United tonight playing for Paris Saint-Germain after her book was published. It may not be the welcome back she hoped for. Cristiano Ronaldo says that next year's World Cup will be his last. He is in his 70s after all. The Spurs fan boxing at the... It's not me, by the way. Oh. It's not me. The Spurs fan or Ellie boxing at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the Eubank Junior Ben Bill on Saturday. Joins us soon.
Colder and drier weather is on the way eventually, but before that happens, we've got another few days of very wet and very mild weather, especially in the south. Full details coming up in the forecast very soon.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
You know, there's nothing, no such thing as a new idea now, is it? Everything goes in circles.
It's true.
Because there's a big piece in the papers this morning about Peugeot, the car maker, because they're bringing in 2027, they're bringing in a square, well, rectangular steering wheel, right? And they go, it's hip to be square. Who sang that?
You get Huey Lewis in the news.
Yeah, exactly.
So like a gaming console?
It looks a bit like a gaming console.
They have those in F1, don't they? Little square ones?
Square, yeah. With
square fellas.
2 handles, yeah. But don't forget, they did it. Austin Allegros in the late 70s, early 80s, they had square steering wheels.
Did they?
Did they?
Yeah.
Like the squarials.
It's a bit like squarials, yeah.
I think it would make it harder, wouldn't it, to drive?
I don't know, Knight Rider had a square steering wheel.
See, there you go.
It's like when you go to the arcades and you get one of those cars. Those simulators.
Those cars, those things.
Are
they square?
Things. They're square, I think. Yeah, because you just do that, don't you?
As then, why now and why never before?
I don't know.
Don't know.
It's interesting. They're calling it a hyper-square. And it's...
come on, hyper-square.
It says...
Here we go.
OK. It helps the front wheels to turn sharply, making town driving and parking easier.
Well, because it's electronically connected. So if you're going at low speed, a bit of a turn turns the wheels a lot, but at high speed, it just turns them a little.
Do you still do, when you're turning, like...
No.
that looks very questionable, doesn't it? But you know what I'm doing when you turn the wheel?
Oh, like...
That you're not supposed to do that.
Like we're trained to do.
Yes. And instead of all this...
No, of course not.
Nobody ever does that anymore,
You've got to keep it 10 to 2, 10 to 2, 10 to 2.
Oh,
10 to 2,
right.
10 to 2.
Do you do that, Dom?
Yeah, I do.
Do you still 10 to 2?
Yeah, I'm a very...
But you're a very bad driver.
I'm a very cautious and very bad driver. I always check. You know, when you're on a driving test, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You know what you need?
Mirrors, that's me.
Square wheel. That'd be quarter to 3 at all times.
I think this would make things much worse now.
Yeah, so basically, everyone's going to get a Knight Rider car.
Well, Peugeot say it's the future.
Well,
I'm
it's
not
the
sure.
past. It's the 80s.
It is actually looking back to the past.
But it's all good.
This is like Top Gear, isn't it?
It is a bit.
Last gear, reverse gear.
Also, just a quick word on seagulls, because I know we talk about them a lot, and stealing your chips, and people who live on the coast obviously have a tough time with that.
They don't really love seagulls.
Do you? I can't stand them.
They look nice.
No. Boffins, it's always boffins. They say if you just yell at them, that is enough to stop them from nicking your chips.
Of course it is. They're only birds.
Shout is the advice from boffins.
They're birds.
How much work has gone into... Get out of the way, get out!
Wave your arms
That's
a
what will
bit.
do the job.
I mean, honestly, I don't understand all this fuss about seagulls. I grew up... Well, I was practically raised by seagulls.
Were you really? That's amazing.
Barrow, they're just everywhere. But you don't bother with them.
But have you never been attacked by one?
No. Were they as ferocious as they are now, though? Because they've got awfully big for their boots, the seagull community.
Oh, so they say. It's all it's newspaper nonsense.
No, they go after the... Trust me, if you're down Southend-on-Sea, your chips will not remain in your hand.
Well, if you stood there with a load of chips out, what do you expect?
No. Stephen's like the Birdman of Alcatraz. They were landing on your arms like that.
No, they're brazen. They've got awfully brave. But shout at them is the advice from boffins.
Right. Shout at them and don't stand there with your bag of chips out.
Yeah. Or your ice cream cone, as they're going for that now as well. They're not even fussy. This is it.
I don't care.
No, right. They should be on Monjaro, shouldn't they?
Yeah, the weight loss.
Which we're debating a little bit later on about whether it's going to affect your Christmas dinner.
I think it will, but it'll be smaller portions all around.
Yeah,
actually,
fine.
I was at an event the other day, and it was Heston Blumenthal talking about, and I know he's spoken about it before, talking about how he's offering smaller portions now at his restaurant because fewer people are...
But are they charging less?
Little tiny restaurants with little bits of...
I mean, it was quite small anyway in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like...
No one's got any appetite
looks
anymore.
nice, but... Going to fill me up?
Well, there you go. As long as you're full, who cares?
Yeah.
Right. Now, number 10 has insisted that the Prime Minister will fight off any attempt to remove him as leader.
Well, in a bid to shore up the Prime Minister's position, Downing Street warned that any plot against his leadership could risk unsettling the markets.
Allies of Sir Keir have accused Cabinet Ministers Wes Streeting of conspiring against him. He's denying that this morning.
No, and I think whoever's been briefing this has been watching too much Celebrity Traitors, and this is just about the worst attack on a faithful I've seen since Joe Marler was kicked out and banished in the final. It's totally self-defeating briefing, not least because it's not true. And I don't understand how anyone thinks it's helpful to the Prime Minister either to suggest he's fighting for his job at a time when, last time I saw him on Monday evening to talk about violence against women and girls and how we tackle it, he's fighting for the country and trying to turn it around.
So that's Health Secretary Wes Streeting making light of those rumours this morning on the media round. We were hoping to have him on the media round, and we were hoping to have him on GB News Breakfast this morning, weren't we?
Well, as soon as we are the #1 news channel, get more viewers than any other news channel in the mornings.
It would have been nice to have spoken to him, but we were told that he didn't have time to speak to GB News Breakfast.
Can't squeeze us in. Thankfully, the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, can squeeze us in, and he joins us now. Good morning to you. I'll put to you what I put to Daisy Cooper an hour ago.
You have to excuse the... You have to excuse the clowns I have behind me. It's not David Lammy this time. It's even worse.
Oh no.
OK, well, I can't quite see what they're saying, but I look forward to reading those placards. Is this a government in freefall?
Well, it's end of day stuff, isn't it? You've got the most unpopular Prime Minister ever. You've got the most unpopular Chancellor since records began, who's about to break the manifesto commitment and increase income tax in her budget in a couple of weeks' time. The country is basically going to pot at the moment, with NHS on strike, open borders, prisoners being released, and yet this weak and paranoid Prime Minister is now turning on his own cabinet and machine gunning his own ministers. It's a total mess. He just needs to get back to his day job and actually try and fix this country.
So you do want to see the Prime Minister remain in his post? You don't want to see him replaced by anybody else? I mean, names that have been put forward in the papers are, of course, Wes Streeting, who's just denied those rumours, and also Shabana Mahmood.
Well, look, it's not up to me to decide who the Labour Party have as their leader. But I will say that Keir Starmer is one, if not the worst Prime Minister I've ever known. He's got no plan. He can't command authority in Parliament. The public are sick of him. And everything feels like it's a mess at the moment out there in the country. The public, they're looking on this absolutely aghast. They just want the government to get a grip of the challenges that the country is facing at the moment. Instead, it's like a circular firing squad, rats in a sack, fighting, fighting, fighting. Get back to the day job and run this country properly.
Daisy Cooper this morning, I know I saw a tweet from Kemi Badenoch this morning saying, you know, the Lib Dems have adopted some conservative policies, they're all backing some of your policies, and they were calling for Labour to do the same. What about the Lib Dems policy saying actually this budget should reduce VAT by 5% on, you know, sort of entertainment venues, pubs, restaurants, all that sort of thing to boost the economy?
Well, look, the high street is in a real mess at the moment. What we've said as Conservatives is that we want to get rid of business rates for businesses with rateable values of £100,000 or less, and that means almost all of the cafes, the restaurants, the independent shops on our high streets wouldn't have to pay those, and that would make a massive difference right now, because, as you see, high street shops and pubs are closing left, right and centre. That, I think, is the best thing that we could do to give them a shot in the arm, really help them to get through the difficult months ahead. But what's Rachel Reeves talking about? Tax rises left, right and centre, and that's going to make life even more difficult. And you're seeing the real-world consequences for that. Not just shops closing, but people laying off staff at the moment. Unemployment is the highest it's been for 5 years since those very challenging days of the pandemic. And it's only going to get worse as there's no strategy right now to grow the economy. And Rachel Reeves looks like she's going to make it worse in the budget at the end of the month.
David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Justice Secretary, was on his feet yesterday, wasn't he, in the House of Commons, admitting that 91 prisoners have been released in error from April of this year to October. Of course, he was blaming his inheritance, the dire inheritance that was left before this government, spoke about accidental releases happening under the Tories' watch. So whose fault is this?
Well, look, I don't excuse a single criminal being let out of prison early. One is too many, isn't it? We don't want these people to be out on the streets of our country, posing a danger to the public. But this problem has got dramatically worse under the Labour government. There's been a 130% increase in the last year alone of the number of prisoners being accidentally released. And David Lammy admitted in Parliament yesterday that someone's being let out of jail accidentally pretty much every other day at the moment. That some of them are still out there on the streets posing a danger to the public. And there's even prisoners who he doesn't know whether they were accidentally released or not. I can't even comprehend what he means by that. Are they in their cell? Are they not in their cell? He doesn't have a clue what's going on, is the truth. And it's a serious, serious problem. because it's making a mockery of the criminal justice system, it's endangering the public, and the victims of these crimes are now very worried indeed that their perpetrators might be coming back to torment them once again. You may have seen just last week the victim of the Epping sexual assault, the young girl who had been sexually assaulted, gave really harrowing testimony that she couldn't sleep at night because she's so worried, thinking that her sexual abuser might come back to Epping, that they might meet each other once again, and that those crimes might be repeated. That is what's happening as a result of our prison system being in such a mess at the moment. And David Lammy's got to step up and get a grip. But does anyone have confidence in him? I certainly don't. I don't meet anybody who does. He doesn't give the impression he knows what he's doing.
Just before we let you go, can we get a quick word on the BBC? It's clearly in a mess. What would you like to see done? And do we need to look at political appointments to the board?
Well, look, I think the BBC have got to use this moment to change fundamentally and to restore public trust and confidence by rooting out the institutional bias that they've displayed in recent years and getting back to actually just in their news talking about the issues that we care about in this country, not obsessing about Israel and Gaza all the time or their obsession with attacking Donald Trump, but talking about living standards, the NHS, our borders, crime, the things that working people across this country are actually exercised about. If they can't do that, then I do worry about the future of the BBC. In fact, I can't see a future for the licence fee. If you want the licence fee to continue, to put it on a sustainable footing, then the BBC have got to change fundamentally the culture of the organisation and do so now as a result of this change.
Good to see you, Mr. Jenrick, this morning. Thankfully, the BBC
Nice to see you. Have a good day.
The BBC cancelled Sooty and Sweep back in the day. Unfortunately, they've revived themselves behind you, but we've tried to ignore them all morning.
Yeah, you've done very well
thank
ignoring that
you.
behind you. Thank you, Mr. Jenrick.
How anyone thinks how anyone thinks they can make a serious point? They want to complain about Brexit, they're entitled to. How do they think they make a serious point by waving Sooty and Sweep
And a
puppets
stuffed
about?
elephant.
And a stuffed elephant. I do not know.
It's very distracting, isn't it?
Anyway, never mind. Let's talk about the BBC and President Trump issue, should we? Because overnight, Mr. Trump said he has an obligation to sue the BBC for misrepresenting his comments of January the 6th, 2021. He was talking to Fox News overnight.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it. And their top echelon,
Director General and the CEO
this is within one of our great allies, you know.
Well, of course, this comes after the outgoing BBC Director General Tim Davie told his staff that the BBC must stand up for its journalism. And that came just a day after President Trump threatened to sue the BBC for $1 billion.
The Culture Secretary called the corporation to be upheld to the highest standards, but she's warned against sustained attacks on the BBC.
Well, we're joined now by media lawyer Mark Stevens. What do you make of it all, Mark?
Well, it's all a bit of political theatre, but I'm not sure that it's actually a sound legal case on Donald Trump's part, because he can't sue in the UK because he's out of time, the statute of limitations has run. And in America, there are many more impediments for a president to sue. They have something called the public figure defense, and the president is the ultimate public figure, and they allow robust, even false criticism of the president under their law. So it's unclear to me how he's going to win any court case that he brings forward. Of course, he has been successful against both ABC and CBS in America, but he had additional leverage against them. He had the ability to stop merger talks and affect their commercial operations. He doesn't really have that same leverage against the BBC.
No, but he had. I mean, perhaps the difference here is the BBC has, by its own admission, edited something which made him look like he was calling for an insurrection. I mean, that was... I don't know if it would be a prosecutable offence. It would be an impeachable offence, wouldn't it?
Well, of course, President Trump was investigated by the Special Counsel and impeached. The problem you have here is that the claims of incitement from that speech have been much discussed over the past period since the 6th of January 2024. The speech was itself full of false claims about widespread election fraud, which fueled anger and a sense of injustice. And if we just cast ourselves back to that period, that speech itself used very much us versus them dynamic, portraying his supporters as being pitted against bad people, sick people, radical left lunatics. He targeted specific individuals, including his own Vice President, Mike Pence, to do the right thing and reject electoral votes. And the call to action was linked to the imminent event of Congress counting the electoral votes. So, I mean, it's fair to say that the president's lawyers have argued that the word fight, which appears over 20 times in the speech, was a figurative metaphor, and that he included a call to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard, which say that he proves he'd intended no violence. But the House Select Committee on January the 6th found that the peaceful language was added by speechwriters, whereas the fight additions were President Trump's own additions. So, you know, he obviously will have to go into all of that. That will be dissected forensically by any courtroom to see whether or not essentially the sting of what the BBC said was true. And viewers might be slightly surprised to learn that, you know, when it comes to libel, when you're you can have something which is wrong, but doesn't lower you in the estimation of right-thinking people. So if essentially there was some measure of incitement in his speech and in the period up to it, then in those circumstances, he's going to lose. And no court has ever yet got into the details behind it, the policies behind it. And the disclosure obligations in America are quite extreme. So they will have to go produce all the documents to prove that President Trump was not in any way involved or inciting. And those courts in America that have already looked at this, 9 federal court judges have already said that incitement was caused by Donald Trump. A court in Washington, D.C. has allowed victims of the 6th of January to sue Donald Trump for incitement. So it's not as clear-cut as a matter of law as to whether or not Donald Trump would win.
Well, just very, very briefly then, in a matter of words, how would you advise the BBC to respond to President Trump? They've got until 10 p.m. on Friday.
I think they have to apologise fulsomely. The president is entitled to a fulsome apology for the editorial mistake, call it whatever you will. That was inappropriate. But I don't think damages are appropriate in this particular case, because I'm not convinced that essentially what Panorama did lowered him in the estimation of right-thinking people in Florida, because, of course, the Panorama wasn't available to be seen in Florida.
OK. Mark, thank you very much indeed. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Really good to get his thoughts on that, actually.
Well, the legal perspective is sometimes not how we necessarily view things in ordinary life, but it's important to understand how the legal process works.
Yeah. Now, at 22 minutes past 8, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. And if you're feeling festive, you'll like the sound of this one. Here are all of the details that you need to know to win.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts, the tree, the trimmings, everything you might need for a fantastic festive day. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck to you on that one. Right, let's have a look at the weather with Aidan.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more rain for many of us during the rest of today, particularly towards the south and southwest. Some drier spells, particularly towards the north. It's very mild once more. It's certainly a mild start to the day for southern parts. We've got this strong southerly wind pushing spells of rain north across England and Wales. After the heavy rain in the south first thing, it does brighten up through to the southeast. It stays very mild, whilst the heaviest rain pushes through Wales into the Midlands and the east of England. Further north, a little colder for northern Scotland, along with some outbreaks of rain or showers. A cold northerly wind here, contrasting with the southerly wind further south, and that southerly wind stays with us overnight, so it's another very mild night for many, temperatures staying in the mid-teens. It's a damp night for southwest England in 2 parts of Wales, and those spells of rain are moving north across northern England and to eventually Northern Ireland. But much of Scotland, a drier end to the day, some clear spells here and there. Further showers coming in on that northerly across northern Scotland. And those northerly winds will bring increasingly chilly air southwards across Scotland through Wednesday night into Thursday. That's the first place where we're going to see a significant drop in temperatures. The rest of the UK basically waits through to the weekend and early next week. We keep the mild air, in other words, across England, Wales, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland first thing Thursday. Initially, it's relatively dry and there'll even be some sunshine first thing. One area of rain fizzling away and moving southeastwards. The next rain is on its way, but for much of the southern half of the UK, at least, there's a drier few hours with some sunshine during Thursday. Damp for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England. Chilly in the north of Scotland. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us, still to come. Is this the end of Christmas indulgence? Because the new research has shown that millions of Brits will be hosting someone on weight loss medication this festive season, meaning that there will be smaller portions and lighter plates all around. But the people won't be around.
No, it'll be thin.
Exactly.
We'll talk about it next.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
And all the way around it, there's going to be 1 million bricks with 1 million answered prayers, so people can take their smartphones, scan a prayer and see how it was answered. I'm joined now by Richard Gamble. You're the founder of this project. Just tell us about it and what inspired you.
So the concept is we want to bring hope to people, and anyone coming will be able to point their phone at any one of the bricks and their phone will light up and tell them the story of answered prayer. And God spoke to me about this 21 years ago, so it's been a roller coaster journey. So it's just a real thrill today that we can get started, and we want to proclaim to the nation that Jesus is alive, he listens, and he answers our prayers.
And how important do you think this is now in this day and age?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we're doing is we're not just collecting the answered prayers from now, but from all of history. So we want to preserve the Christian heritage of the nation and get schools and colleges to come and visit and find out all the stories of what God's done through our history. And I think particularly now that's more important than ever.
And you didn't want it to look like a religious monument as such, like Christ the Redeemer?
Yeah, when we ran a global competition with the Royal Institute of British Architects, we didn't want it to have the Christian iconography. We wanted to be a stunning structural design that basically encourages people to come along, have a look, and when they come they'll be able to see all these tiny bricks on it and realise how big a million is. And I hope as a piece of art that's going to inspire millions of people to think about praying.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to breakfast. Now the bonfires are out and the fireworks are finished, which means... Yeah? Are yours not? No. Oh. Well, it means that the countdown to Christmas is on.
New research reveals that our festive season could be a little bit different this year because of weight loss medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro reshaping what Christmas dinner may mean for millions of households.
In fact, more than 5.5 million Brits expect to host someone who's on weight loss medication this Christmas, sparking a rethink in how we approach food, drink and social occasions.
Well, let's see what it looks like, or may look like, with founder and CEO of one of those companies that sell all of this stuff. Check Up. Toby Nicol, good to see you this morning. Are we really going to see a shift in how we celebrate Christmas?
Hi, good morning. Great to see you too. And I'm really sorry that, unlike Robert Jenrick, I don't have Sooty and Sweep in the background.
Thank heavens.
to keep me company. Yeah, I think genuinely we are. I think we're probably looking for the first time, millions of people are now on weight loss medication, and that's going to change the way people consume Christmas. I always describe the way they work as being very much like Christmas dinner, where when you eat and eat and eat and eat, eventually your body tells you to stop eating. The way the medication works is you just get to that point earlier. So in terms of Christmas, rather than people indulging and overindulging themselves, they'll be wanting to eat less. And I think that's going to put pressure socially on families and other occasions when people get together this year.
So just for people who aren't on these weight loss jabs, Toby, what does it look like? Are you able to eat a little bit, or do you not want to eat at all? Or are there certain things that you can't eat when you're on these jabs?
No, it's very much that it makes you feel full, so you eat less. And even when it's not at Christmas, I say the way they work is just like Christmas lunch, where you eat, and then you sit down on the sofa, you watch the King's speech, etc., and you can't eat anymore. What happens, the medication just gets you to that point earlier. So you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want to do it, but you just don't want to eat as much. And therefore, over a course of many months, the weight just literally falls off. So therefore, our traditional time of celebration, which would also probably include Thanksgiving as well, which is coming up beforehand, people will just be eating less than they normally would have done.
It's interesting, though. We sort of frame it as a nightmare, a disaster, that we're not all going to just stuff our faces with chocolate logs and whatever else all over Christmas and a load of Quality Street. I mean, the reality is you can still eat what you want, just less of it. It could all be a nice, cheaper Christmas for us.
it most definitely will be cheaper for many people. I think the difficulty is really in how do people navigate the social side of this? You know, if somebody is eating literally a third of what they would normally eat and then pushing their plate to one side, how does the host cope with that? But also from the point of view of the guest, for example, they may not want to know, for people to know that they're taking medicine. A lot of people in the UK still feel slightly funny about it because they think it's cheating. Therefore, how do you say it? So I think it certainly isn't a culinary nightmare. It's more likely to be a social issue which people are navigating.
Yeah. OK, Toby, really good to see you this morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Breakfast.
Just be honest about it, I think, probably.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any shame in it. If you're feeling better for it and you feel good on it, then good for you.
And if you don't want a massive Christmas dinner, you just want, a couple of See, I normally have about 25 roast potatoes, which is obviously not very good for
potatoes. You. Yeah.
So just eating less and you're being healthier, even if you're getting a bit of an assist to do it.
Yeah, and a pig in blanket. What you got us going now?
You're hungry already this morning.
This is what happens on this programme. We talk about food and I can't stop thinking about it all day. So we mentioned seagulls and chips. When did we do that? 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Can't stop thinking about chips. Now it's going to be Christmas dinner. This is what you start.
Yeah. Well, if you're dreaming of chips but you have to go to work, here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M8 northbound at Junction 6 is blocked due to an incident causing delays. Abergavenny's A4042 is closed between Hardwick roundabout and A472 interchange. In Staffordshire, expect a 20-minute delay on the A38 northbound between Burton-upon-Trent and A5132. In Hertfordshire, lane closures on the M25 anti-clockwise at Junction 19 follow a collision. And on the trains, cross-country services are disrupted between Bristol Parkway and Gloucester, and Gatwick Express services face issues between Brighton and Three Bridges. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Right, Paul's here with the sport. Good morning.
So good morning. It's the Eubank Ben Bill.
The
Bill and Ben.
The Bill and Ben.
The Bill and Ben.
Power Pop Men.
Yes, that's it.
Excellent.
So the big fight, which is on Saturday, which is Chris Eubank Jr., the rematch against Conor Ben, Nigel, because you know it's the fathers. Yeah. So I don't know whether it has the interest the first one did, but they made their entrance yesterday. Can we see this? I think we can probably see them arriving. There we are. Firstly, there's Chris Eubank Jr., who announced that he's going to be having twins. There we are. Look very cool. Stroll up there. You know, they've got the music play. We've got the music there, but the music playing, so there he is. So it's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday. And there we are. There's Chris Eubank Jr.
It's very cool.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah.
Chill.
It's like we're staying there. OK, and now walk back again. But don't walk too fast.
No.
Because it shows fear. So
what it is?
Stroll back, and then I think we'll see Conor Ben appear as well. You know, there hasn't been the war of words or the problems that had been before, because do you remember there was the smash of the egg on Conor Ben because there was when he was banned, whereas they said that it was actually too many eggs. I'm not really sure, but I'm wearing the same chain as him today.
Oh, as long as you've got, I mean, if you're listening on the radio, it's lapels like you've never seen.
Yes, white and black
large
lapels with lots of bling. Now, someone I'll tell you who is not probably going to be wearing all that, but I'm very excited for him. He is the Commonwealth Super welterweight champion who is going to be fighting for the British Championship at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, the extra special thing for him is that he's a huge Spurs fan. So he is actually getting to fight pretty much at home. Yeah. So I hope his record at Spurs Stadium is going to be better than Spurs is at the moment. But anyway, his name's Sam Gilly, and he joins us now. Morning, Sam.
Morning, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well. Listen, it's great to see you. How are you feeling then? A couple of days in, what sort of thing goes on at the moment? Is it just lots of rest at the moment?
Yeah, lots of rest. Is just tucked away in the hotel. Pretty boring stuff. But like, we was at the arrivals yesterday. I never thought I'd be strolling down a red carpet and told to stand there and count to 10 while they take pictures, and like you say, slowly walk back. Yeah. Not to go too quickly, but it was a weird experience, but it's all good.
I did see your one. It was much better than Chris's one, wasn't it? You seemed a little bit more comfortable about the whole thing.
Well, I was really nervous, and then they put Glory Glory Tottenham Hotspur on, and it just settled me straight in, and I was like, mate, this is wicked.
That's what they do for me here, by the way. Just before I come in the studio. But Sam, it really must be a dream, though, because you're a professional boxer and you've had successes, but I know to actually fight at the stadium that you go and watch football and have since you were a kid, to actually go and fight there. Now, what does this mean to you, and how exciting is it for you as a Spurs fan? Because I know a lot of boxers that are football fans that have fought at their own stadiums. So what about it for you?
Well, it's just silly, like how this has come about. Because I was at the first Ben Eubank fight as a fan.
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't sit there and think, oh, if they have a rematch, I could be on the undercard. It was just so stupid, like that they was fighting there. Like it didn't even come into my head that it could be a possibility. Right. So the fact that it's happening is just like I could retire the day after that fight and be completely content with my career. I've boxed at Tottenham. Do you know what I mean? I've completed boxing in my eyes. It's massive.
This is something that I guess you're going to have to take in. You want to look around you, but also you are going to have to focus here, Sam. So you're going to have to put all of that out of your head. So have you thought about how this is going to be for you?
So I went to the Post Malone concert at Tottenham a couple of months ago, and I don't really go to concerts and stuff like that. Music's not really my thing, but my missus dragged me along. Yeah. But we was lucky enough to be standing, so I said, right, let me go to the middle of the pitch, because obviously we're always looking from the other side. So I want to go to the middle of the pitch and just envision what it's going to look like on the night. So I went to the middle where the ring would be, and I got goosebumps because the view of the stadium from that way is just incredible. So I'm glad I've done that and got to soak it in and just see it for the first time, not on fight night. Because on the night, like you say, I've got to completely ignore the stadium, completely ignore where I am, and it's just a boxing ring at the end of the day. It could be in the street, it could be in a gym somewhere, it don't matter. It's still a boxing ring and I've got a job to do. So it was just nice to soak it in from a different point of view and not have it on the first time on the night.
Now, the British title, I do want to say, because the British title, my dad always used to say to me, you get boxers these days, they ignore the British title. It doesn't seem to mean as much as it used to. You know, or they're always trying to fight for it. There's so many different world titles. But the British title is an incredibly important thing to win. And it obviously means a lot to you, Sam.
Yeah, I've won every other domestic title, and the only one really I wanted to win was the British, and it's the only one I haven't won. And I've been in line for it for 2 years. So it's like since I watched Ricky Hatton when I was a kid, that was the belt I see him win, and I was like, oh, I want to win one of them one day. So it's always stuck with me that that's the one I want to win. And I've had a really hard couple of years trying to pin that belt down, but for different reasons, the fight hasn't happened and stuff. And now we're 2 years on, but it seems the stars have aligned because now I get to fight for the dream belt at my dream stadium. So it's all worked out well.
Good luck, Ismail Davis. Then Saturday night before the Eubank Jr. fight against Conor Benn, and we wish you all the very best, Sam. So hopefully we'll see you next week with a belt.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, smash it, Sam. Smash it.
Thanks, Sam.
Sam Gilly. I mean, it is Drake, but you think it might throw you a little bit, the fact that you're so excited?
No, he'll feel at home.
He'll be all right.
He'll be relaxed.
He'll be amongst friends.
Exactly.
Wish you
Thanks, Coity.
Right, still to come, we're going to take you through the papers in just a couple of minutes with Lewis Oakley and with Claire. They are ready to roll.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast across Europe.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
The low pressure responsible for the UK's wet weather is also bringing wet, windy weather to Iberia. Heavy showers in Cyprus caused by another low, but in between, high pressure, a lot of fine weather for Italy. Madeira and the Canary Islands seeing some lively showers and thunderstorms on Thursday. Here's this band of rain, which is really quite slow moving across Portugal and western parts of Spain. Eventually edges its way eastwards during the next few days, but Italy stays very nice indeed.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Last time I was here was with Buddy, my golden retriever, who joined me for the first 2,000 kilometre of my 13,000 kilometre triathlon from England to Everest. But this time we got back and we've just got a rescue dog, but Teddy, who's inspired our next adventure, our next charity expedition in aid of rescue dogs. So, yeah.
I'm going to slow you down a tiny bit.
Absolutely, that's fine.
You said fairly quickly 13,000 kilometres.
Yeah.
So tell me about the stages of that.
So, yeah, so it was 6 months tomorrow, 6 months ago to the day, was on summit of Everest and completed the longest climb of Mount Everest in history. So it was 13,157 kilometres, which started with a swim across the English Channel and then a 12,000 kilometre bike ride across 18 countries to sea level in India, and then a 1,300 kilometre run and hike and climb from sea level to the top of Mount Everest. So it was the first triathlon to the top of the world and also the longest climb of Everest in history, which was for a great veterans charity called SABSIM, which makes mental health courses using wildlife and nature. And I studied zoology, massive animal lover myself, and now I've been back 6 months and we've just come across and rescued Teddy. It inspired our next little venture.
I mean, the trip you undertook, the 13,000 kilometres, medical experts said it was impossible.
Well, a lot of people said to me, a lot of experts said they're not sure if it's possible. You know, the question was that, you know, after a nearly an 8,000-mile triathlon, would the human body then be capable of then climbing Everest? I lost 18 kilos, nearly died many times. The hardest day was on day one, actually, 18.5 hours across the channel. That was just day one of 237. But we made it in the end. It was for a great cause, and we kind of defied possible to show the most important message of my entire kind of expedition, that the only person that knows what's possible is looking in the mirror.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Going through the papers, as you can hear, with Claire Muldoon and Lewis Oakley. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Claire, let's have a look at Shamima Begum, shall we? Should she be let back in?
Well, I don't think she should be. In my view, she's committed treason. And in 2019, when Sajid Javid rescinded her British citizenship, and as you know, under current laws, you cannot rescind a citizenship and make someone stateless. So his case was she is by birth, although born in the UK, her both birth parents are from Bangladesh. So that made her a Bangladesh citizen in our courts. Bangladesh have said if she comes anywhere near our country, we will kill her, basically, we will, by death penalty. So she is now in limbo in a Syrian Guantanamo Bay. But the issue why this has came up now, I think, is because of people like Sebastian Gorka. Trump's advisors have all said, look, we need our allies to remove their citizens from this area, and you should actually take them back and repatriate them. I don't think we should repatriate Shamima Begum. Whilst her story is tragic, 3 live births, only for those children all to have died, her split from her Dutch husband, surely there's an angle that she can claim some Dutch nationality through marriage. But I don't know what the status of that marriage is. That's the key point. So there are all of these legal salient points at the moment. My view is, no, don't take her back. She's committed treason. And the reason I think I'm coming down so hard on this is because I actually put my faith in some of the politicians and some of the lawyers, and to think that they might be in full knowledge of certain facts that we're not.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because this review is basically described Britain as an outlier in its policy to strip citizenship of those who've joined IS and leaving them in these camps. I mean, I just can't see it happening at the end of the day. I can't see Labour, knowing how unpopular they are, having this happen on their watch. I just don't really think it's going to happen. And you have those that will argue it's been a good deterrent. You know, she's there as an example of what happens if you go and join these groups. But I think there will always be those on the other side who'll say, look, she's our problem. She was raised here. She's our problem. Can't leave people around the world. You have to bring them back and punish them yourselves.
Well, yeah, I've no desire to let her back in, particularly.
Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Lewis, who's this NHS boss who says we've just got to defy doctors' strikes?
Yes, so this is Sir James Mackey, and he's written to all of the different trusts telling them that operations need to go ahead during the 5-day doctors' strike. I mean,
how can it?
I don't know. He's giving his recommendation. So
the recommendation to hospital trusts is do not allow mitigating strikes to undermine the elective surgeries that have been planned over the next 5 days from Friday for the junior doctor strike. Now, did you know that consultants can earn up to £6,000 for on-call for a weekend? And that's the state that will put the budget stress under for hospital trusts. I don't think these junior doctors should be striking in any way, shape or form. They've taken the Hippocratic Oath to defend life at all cost. They've already had a bumper pay rise last year with the nurses, and they will be putting patients' lives at risk, and the BMA is up in arms about it. But Sir James Mackay has said, look, you have got the ability to capacitate hospital staff by up to 95%. Those are the guidelines within budget that you should be aiming to and save people's lives.
Well, if they can do it.
I think when these stories come up, you think about the doctors, you think about the story, you don't think about the actual people. Like, we have someone very close to us that's waiting for an operation, and the stress that these kind of stories create, where you just think, oh my God, if they went in, would they be safe? And if this is happening, how long will the backlog be? And it's a really stressful time for people that are waiting for operations. And I just think the public sympathy has really gone. They got a pay rise. We all want to be paid what we should be, but I just think that the public backing there, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Claire, let's have a look at the Daily Mail, shall we? And Axel Rudicabaner's parents could face criminal charges.
Yeah, and they could. And whilst I'm not an advocate of parents being fined or held responsible for their children's behaviour, this takes it to an absolute other level. Axel Rudicabaner's parents had given testimony in court, and it's that testimony, the basis of that testimony, that the police are now looking at forensically to see if any charges can be made.
It is shocking.
We are told that he was abusive physically towards his father. We are told that as his personal hygiene diminished and his lack of responsibility for taking care of himself, his parents would pay him to wash himself, but that money was used to build a weaponry that he held in his room. And the parents knew this, and the parents didn't do anything about it. So they were not parenting. This was a boy who was under the age of 18 at the time, and he should have been held responsible, as he has been now, jailed for 52 years. His parents have got a lot to answer for, I think. Not that they made him do that, but
they didn't do enough to stop it.
They didn't do enough to prevent it.
And they knew, as part of that testimony, they admitted that they knew that he'd left the house that day with a knife. They think that he was carrying the knife for self-defense.
And the week before, the father thought he was going to do something, and yet the father didn't even notify any authorities, not even the school.
Right.
Yeah.
It's bad and it's wrong.
It's really hard to separate emotion on this story.
It's not.
Well, I think, look, here's my thing. I think that we should have more parents take responsibility, basically. I really do.
All right, you two. Thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. Thank you too. Let's have a look at the weather with Aidan.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more rain for many of us during the rest of today, particularly towards the south and southwest. Some drier spells, particularly towards the north. It's very mild once more. It's certainly a mild start to the day for southern parts. We've got this strong southerly wind pushing spells of rain north across England and Wales. After the heavy rain in the south first thing, it does brighten up through to the southeast. It stays very mild, whilst the heaviest rain pushes through Wales into the Midlands and the east of England. Further north, a little colder for northern Scotland, along with some outbreaks of rain or showers. A cold northerly wind here, contrasting with the southerly wind further south, and that southerly wind stays with us overnight, so it's another very mild night for many, temperatures staying in the mid-teens. It's a damp night for southwest England in two parts of Wales, and those spells of rain are moving north across northern England and to eventually Northern Ireland. But much of Scotland, a drier end to the day, some clear spells here and there. Further showers coming in on that northerly across northern Scotland. And those northerly winds will bring increasingly chilly air southwards across Scotland through Wednesday night into Thursday. That's the first place where we're going to see a significant drop in temperatures. The rest of the UK basically waits through to the weekend and early next week. We keep the mild air, in other words, across England, Wales, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, first thing Thursday. Initially, it's relatively dry, and there'll even be some sunshine first thing. One area of rain fizzling away and moving southeastwards. The next rain is on its way, but for much of the southern half of the UK, at least, there's a drier few hours with some sunshine during Thursday. Damp for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England. Chilly in the north of Scotland. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Gateshead, the A1M northbound entry slip at junction 64 is closed due to roadworks. In Knowsley, all lanes on the M57 southbound exit slip at junction 1 are shut for emergency roadworks. Leicestershire's M1 southbound exit slip at junction 24A is closed for barrier repairs. Worcestershire's M5 northbound entry slip at junction 5 is shut for roadworks. In Oxfordshire, 2 of 3 lanes on the M40 northbound are closed for repairs between junctions 10 and 11. Surrey's M25 anti-clockwise entry slip at junction 13 is shut. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good morning. Sir Keir Starmer privately vows to fight any attempt to remove him as Labour leader.
The Prime Minister's allies say he'll refuse to quit, even if MPs move against him over the budget or next year's local elections.
Well, Labour has been plunged into crisis. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, forced to deny plotting a coup.
But could a Labour civil war derail confidence in the markets just weeks before the budget? The Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Stacey Cooper, seems to think so.
I do worry that with just 2 weeks to go until the budget, this kind of talk can be very destabilising for the markets and for international investors as well.
Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick, on the other hand, blamed the Prime Ministers for the rumours of a coup.
And paranoid Prime Minister is now turning on his own cabinet and machine gunning his own ministers. It's a total mess.
Yes, Keir Starmer is expecting a leadership and he won't go without a fight. Find out more with me very soon.
Donald Trump accuses the BBC of defrauding the public. Overnight, he told Fox News the BBC had been dishonest and disgraceful.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it.
1 million more people are claiming benefits without having to look for work. A record 4 million people are now on universal credit, in a major setback to Sir Keir Starmer's pledge to get Britain back to work.
There's a warning to the Chancellor from EasyJet. The airline says if Rachel Reeves raises air passenger duty, that's another tax on flights in the budget, it could pull planes from the UK.
The countdown to Christmas is on, but this year's celebrations could look very different. And that's because more than 5 million Brits say that they're going to be hosting someone who's on weight loss jabs. We're asking, and we've been asking this morning, is this the end of festive indulgence?
colder and drier weather is on the way eventually. But before that happens, we've got another few days of very wet and very mild weather, especially in the south. Full details coming up in the forecast very soon.
Just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Slightly concerned, actually.
Oh, why?
I've only just spotted. It's just literally in the last 10 seconds, because we got a little statue for the garden at home yesterday.
That's nice.
It's actually a Christmas present, but it's appeared in the garden already.
What's the statue of? Am I allowed to ask?
Hector.
Who's Hector?
Hector is that a mythical figure with arrow, bow and arrow and all that.
Classy,
Right.
very nice.
But I've
You've
just
got very nice taste.
Oh yes, I have. But I didn't pick it actually. I've just seen in the Sun though that statues dating to the Roman era have been stolen in a museum raid.
Oh,
6
dear.
marble figures. So I'm just wondering if ours is kosher or has it been
Has
nicked?
it been nicked? When did you get it?
Yesterday.
Oh, is he marble, Hector?
Well, he could be, rather than just resin.
I'd maybe delve
probably
into that. Where was it stolen from?
He's probably resin.
Oh, it was stolen in Syria. I think you're probably okay.
Probably.
Stolen from Damascus. I don't think it would have made it to Milton Keynes quite that quickly.
Never know. You never know. We could have a priceless artefact in the garden.
Now, that would be a good story. Be like the Louvre heist.
It's only about that big.
Oh, very nice. Where are you putting it?
In the garden.
Where in the garden?
I'll show you a picture.
By the little bird baths?
No, not by the bird. Shut up. Don't tell everyone how the garden's organised.
You've got a lovely garden.
Thank you. Right, anyway, enough of that nonsense, should we? Let's talk about number 10, which is insisting that the Prime Minister will fight off any attempt to remove him as leader.
Well, in a bid to shore up the Prime Minister's position, Downing Street warned that any plot against his leadership could risk unsettling the markets.
Allies of the PM accusing Wes Streeting, he's the Health Secretary, of course, of conspiring against him, something he's emphatically denied.
No, and I think whoever's been briefing this has been watching too much Celebrity Traitors, and this is just about the worst attack on a faithful I've seen since Joe Marler was kicked out and banished in the final. It's totally self-defeating briefing, not least because it's not true. And I don't understand how anyone thinks it's helpful to the Prime Minister either to suggest he's fighting for his job at a time when, last time I saw him on Monday evening to talk about violence against women and girls and how we tackle it, he's fighting for the country and trying to turn it around.
Well, we're joined now by Labour MP for Brent West, Barry Gardiner. Very good morning to you, Barry.
Morning, Ellie.
What is going on?
Well, it's certainly the first time I've ever seen a cabinet minister saying that he's got full confidence in his boss. It's usually the other way round. But we're in a very poor state when Number 10 feels that it has to defend itself against some putative challenge, and the chief person they're accusing of challenging saying, no, of course, I'm not doing anything.
Do you believe him?
I don't believe either of them, actually, because Number 10 are saying that, the Prime Minister knew nothing about it, and Wes Streeting saying that he knew nothing about any plots against the Prime Minister. It's common knowledge in Parliament. And this is what I think the public look at this and they say, oh, for goodness sake, stop talking to yourselves and get on with running the country. Because they look at this, and in Parliament, everybody knows that there are groups of MPs who've been saying, we're really worried, the polls are low, what are we going to do? Does the Prime Minister need to go? Who's going to challenge him? When's it going to happen? The idea that this isn't happening and that we can all come out here and say, no, of course, everything's fine, the gas works, is just ridiculous. There has to be a bit of honesty about what's going on. But fundamentally, this is now a job for the Prime Minister to get a grip on those around him. Right? And that is the essential thing here, because we know that I think it was Wes Streeting this morning on the BBC, called it a toxic culture around number 10. That has to go, and we have to have a government that starts listening, not just listening to its own backbenchers and the wider Labour Party, but listening to the country, listening to the concerns that people have, and then saying, look, these are the ways in which we propose to address them.
Do you have confidence, though, that the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, can get things back on track? Because you're not even 18 months in power yet, and this feels like the end of a parliament.
Ellie, look, you're right. It feels much more like 3 years ago at the end of the Tory party. But yes, I do, because he's the Prime Minister and he has a huge parliamentary majority. And this is the ridiculous thing. You know, one thing we need to learn from Donald Trump is if you've got power at that scale, use it. Now, I don't like the way Donald Trump does use it, you know, but I would like to see the Prime Minister exert authority, set a clear direction for the government, and then pursue it relentlessly. That's what government is about.
Yes, it is, but can he actually do that? I mean, look, we've had the whole benefit cuts proposals, which were then watered down, then abandoned completely because of the backbench rebellion. He's pushing through a budget with a Chancellor who is uniquely unpopular and which is going to upset a lot of people. And even with that, you wonder if the budget bill can get passed because of his own backbench.
I don't know about uniquely unpopular. I remember the days when George Osborne was booed at the Olympics.
Well, yes, indeed. But she is the most popular in history on the ratings.
Let me pick up on the very real point that you made there. We saw at the weekend Rachel Reeves go out on the airwaves and effectively say to people, we're probably going to get rid of the two-child benefit cap, OK? Less than a year ago, 7 of my good colleagues were suspended from the party for precisely saying that we should get rid of the two-child benefit cap. That is the sort of incoherence and U-turn that the public say, well, who are you? What are you actually trying to achieve? And that's why the Prime Minister has to get a grip, has to set a course, set a direction, and then the party's got to come around and deliver it. And at the moment, they're so concerned with fighting amongst themselves. Look at what's happened with number 10. We've had attacks from number 10 on Angela Rayner, Bridget Phillipson, Lou Hay, you know, the list goes on. And I think, again, Wes Streeting said, maybe it was this morning or last night, well, at least it's on a man this time, you know, the attack on him. But you cannot create a circling of the wagons to defend yourself. What they're actually doing is a circular firing squad. They're shooting at each other. Let's start facing outwards, let's start talking to the country, let's start setting a clear direction for government and get on and deliver what I want to see, a successful Labour government.
If not now, is there a risk that he could be dethroned later? Because we're talking about a budget where we're expected to include massive tax hikes. We can imagine that's going to land badly. And then we're also looking at local elections in May, which, when we're at the polls, I think Labour's at 18% at the moment.
Oh, we've gone up, have we?
It can't get much worse.
You've sneaked up 1%.
Yeah.
Could he be at risk then, in 6 months' time?
Well, you see, Ellie, I mean, it's a very shrewd question, actually, because what's happened last night is that number 10 have come out and they've said, OK, if you're going to, do it now. And the reason they've said that is because they know that the plotting is going on, and so they're trying to cauterize it. They're trying to say, you know, stand up and deliver, or else shut up. And by doing that, they're forcing what's happened this morning, Wes Streeting to come out and say, oh, no, not me, Gov. I'm not going to do it. No, everything's fine. I'm not. And so, but they knew very well that MPs were talking about after the budget and after the local elections next year. But, of course, nobody wants to take over before the local elections next year if they think they're going to be bad.
It's a joke.
It's not a joke, because the public are out there going, these are our lives, these are our wage levels, these are our jobs, these are our kids.
But that's why it's a joke, because they're doing all of this, they're playing these games and thinking we don't know.
Well, You're right. The idea that people don't realise that plotting is going on and that they're not prepared to say it, it's a facade. And it's the facade that politicians play. But actually, I think the country are sick of it. They just want us to get on and focus on them and not on each other.
Okay. Barry Gardner, it's been really good to see you this morning. Thank you for coming and joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
Olivia Utley was paying very close attention. What do you make of that?
Well, I think
refreshingly honest.
Very, very refreshingly honest. Lovely to hear that from Barry Gardner. And I think lots of MPs in the party would agree with him that what Labour needs now is some sort of direction, not a huge leadership Ferrari. What Keir Starmer is warning about now, or Keir Starmer's allies briefing out, are two very different but related risks. One is that a leadership contest is triggered. It takes 80 MPs, that's 20% of the sitting parliamentary party, to back another candidate for a leadership contest to be triggered. Now, one option is that contest is triggered because 80 MPs have backed some sort of cabinet minister, either Shabana Mahmood or Wes Streeting, someone who is actually to the right of Keir Starmer. Now, if that happens, what you could see happening, which is actually very similar to what happened to Jeremy Corbyn, is that this challenger could get the support of 80 MPs. There would be this leadership challenge, but they would then lose among the wider Labour Party, the grassroots Labour Party, because the grassroots Labour Party is to the left of the parliamentary party, so they wouldn't have any interest in Shabana Mahmood or Wes Streeting. What Keir Starmer says, and rightly so, or Keir Starmer's allies, is that the problem with that is that you have a lot of money and effort being directed away from those May elections towards a leadership challenge, which would then fail. Keir Starmer would remain Prime Minister, but the party would look far more divided and look, frankly, a bit ridiculous in the eyes of the British public. The other very opposite option that allies are briefing about is that 80 MPs from the parliamentary party support a very left-wing candidate, and that could happen too because the parliamentary party is very, very big and very divergent. 221 Labour MPs were elected for the first time in 2024. They have all sorts of different politics. 80 of them could put forward a very left-wing candidate. That very left-wing candidate could win the support of the grassroots. He could oust Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. He could become Prime Minister, and straight away he would start doing things like denouncing Trump, he or she, perhaps saying he would join the EU, perhaps saying that the fiscal rules are nonsense, breaking fiscal rules and saying that we should borrow more, etc., etc. In which case, the public, the markets would get very jittery for a start, but also the public would probably turn against Labour and Labour would become unelectable. So that's the picture that Keir Starmer is trying to push out at the moment. Two very different and equally unattractive options to replace him as Prime Minister. That's the message that he's hoping he can get across. And as Barry was saying there, it does seem to be a bit of a preemptive strike. At the moment, Wes Streeting is very much denying that he has anything to do with this. But Keir Starmer is saying, if you're going to do it now, and I'm ready for the fight.
All right.
Okay.
Olivia, thank you.
Thank you. Now, 14 minutes past 9, it's time for the Great British Giveaway now. And if you're feeling festive, you might like the sound of this one. Here are all of the details that you need for a chance to win.
You could win your entire Christmas on us this year, all magically delivered to you in time for the big day. There's cash, £30,000 in tax-free cash to make your new year go with a bang. There's also a further £10,000 to spend on all the gifts, the tree, the trimmings, everything you might need for a fantastic festive day. We've also got Christmas lunch for you, with £1,000 in vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. And finally, a festive GB News goodie bag, so there's something for everyone under the tree. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, President Donald Trump accuses the BBC of defrauding the public. We're going to be talking about that next.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Now, overnight, President Trump said he has an obligation to sue the BBC for misrepresenting his comments on January the 6th, 2021. That was ahead of that Capitol building attack. He was talking to Fox News overnight. Have a listen.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it, and their top echelon.
Director General and the CEO
This
both
is
resigned.
within one of our great allies, you know.
Well, it comes after the outgoing BBC Director General Tim Davie told his staff yesterday that the BBC must stand up for its journalism. And that came just a day after President Trump threatened to sue for $1 billion.
The Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, said the corporation needs to uphold the highest standards, but warned against attacks on the BBC.
Well, we're joined now by political commentator Jennifer Powers. Morning to you, Jennifer. And for a lot of British people that were hoping that this was just hot air from the president, it appears he's serious about this.
Good morning. Absolutely. This leaked BBC memo corroborates President Trump's often sort of perennial claims of fake news. So it's really no surprise that he's going to bring a lawsuit, or at least he's threatened to bring a lawsuit, given the historic partisan coverage of the BBC. I mean, this is a man who has a history of suing the media going back to 1984, when he filed a lawsuit against the Chicago Tribune newspaper. And then more recently, he sued CNN, American broadcasters CBS, ABC, and Dow Jones, the owner of the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Times. And now we have this concern notice sent to the BBC. So this is a man who takes his reputation seriously. And the BBC and the UK government need to take this threat seriously as well.
But it's interesting at how much is reality and how much is posturing. I mean, he's given them a deadline of Friday night to sort of settle, apologise and settle. I mean, a media lawyer we were talking to this morning saying he doesn't actually think he's got a case.
Well, I mean, part of why Trump does this is to make the case to the public and in public. It's not always about the lawsuit itself, although I have to say the discovery process of the BBC having to, make available to the court and to the Trump legal team all of the documents would be absolutely fascinating for all of us BBC watchers here in the UK and around the world. But listen, he's making a point which I think has some merit. Why does the BBC need to colour its coverage? Why can't it be objective? It claims to be an impartial and objective, but why can't it give the public the benefit of the doubt that we can draw our own conclusions based on what politicians do and say? We don't need that coverage to be doctored. We don't need certain news stories to be omitted to give the impression that there is no other side. I mean, I don't think that anyone that watched the BBC over the last 8 or 9 years would think that they have been impartial with regard to Donald Trump. They have been overtly hostile over very many years. So this is something that hasn't escaped President Trump. He appreciates that this isn't a one-off. In his mind, it's part of a repeated pattern. And he's a man who's willing to push the envelope.
All right, Jennifer Powers, really good to get your views on that. Thank you very much.
Coming up for you in just a moment, Andrew and Miriam, you've got 10 seconds.
Well, we'll have 2.5 hours, so that'll be enough.
Talk about the Prime Minister's leadership in crisis official, because Downing Street have a brief that he's being... there's a plot against him.
Crazy
by West
stuff.
Street and the Health Secretary. Extraordinary stuff.
And lots more, but also your weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more rain for many of us during the rest of today, particularly towards the south and southwest. Some drier spells, particularly towards the north. It's very mild once more. It's certainly a mild start to the day for southern parts. We've got this strong southerly wind pushing spells of rain north across England and Wales. After the heavy rain in the south first thing, it does brighten up through to the southeast. It stays very mild, whilst the heaviest rain pushes through Wales into the Midlands and the east of England. Further north, a little colder for northern Scotland, along with some outbreaks of rain or showers. A cold northerly wind here, contrasting with the southerly wind further south, and that southerly wind stays with us overnight, so it's another very mild night for many, temperatures staying in the mid-teens. It's a damp night for southwest England in 2 parts of Wales, and those spells of rain are moving north across northern England into eventually Northern Ireland. But much of Scotland, a drier end to the day, some clear spells here and there. Further showers coming in on that northerly across northern Scotland. And those northerly winds will bring increasingly chilly air southwards across Scotland through Wednesday night into Thursday. That's the first place where we're going to see a significant drop in temperatures. The rest of the UK basically waits through to the weekend and early next week. We keep the mild air, in other words, across England, Wales, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, first thing Thursday. Initially, it's relatively dry, and there'll even be some sunshine first thing. One area of rain fizzling away and moving southeastwards. The next rain is on its way, but for much of the southern half of the UK, at least, there's a drier few hours with some sunshine during Thursday. Damp for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England. Chilly in the north of Scotland. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation. Because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A92 Tay Road Bridge is closed to double-deck vehicles with a 30 miles per hour speed limit due to high winds. On the M1 southbound in Leicestershire, A collision at junction 24A has closed all lanes. In West Berkshire, an accident on the A34 northbound has one lane closed. Congestion on the M69 in Warwickshire near the M6 causes 10-minute delays. The M62 in Salford has lane closures due to a broken-down vehicle. And on the trains, cross-country services between Bristol Parkway and Gloucester and the Gatwick Express between Brighton and Three Bridges are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Secretary is urging medical professionals to prescribe having a job as a form of treatment for anxiety and depression. West Streeting wants employment to be seen as being just as vital to health as diet and exercise. His comments come as the latest figures reveal there are more than 2.8 million people of working age who are economically inactive in the UK because of long-term sickness. Joining me now is a psychotherapist and broadcaster, Lucy Beresford. Lucy, good to see you. What do you make of this story? Prescribing going